Morning. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Reno Sparks Convention and Visitors Authority, Wednesday, December 6th, and apologize for my voice. I was out in a Christmas parade in the cold wind on Saturday, and I think it took my voice. So the IT guys have helped me out with the microphone today, so that you guys can hear me, and I will be more quiet than normal, which my husband thinks is a good thing. So anyway, call to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Shiga, will you lead us in the pledge?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, could we get a roll call?
Mr. Alzar. Mr. Esquaga.
Here.
Chair Bybee.
Here.
Mr. Chapman.
Here.
Mr. East.
Here.
Commissioner Hill. Mr. J.
Present.
Mr. Murdoch.
Here.
Mayor Sheevy.
Here.
You have a form.
Thank you so much. Moving on to the next item, comments from the floor by the public. Do we have public comment?
I do
Madam
have one public comment from Mr. Darren Griffin.
Clerk? Okay, Mr. Griffin, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Madam Chair, members of the board, good morning. Thank you for having me. For the record, Darren Griffin, CEO of the Reno Tahoe Airport Authority. It's great to be with you all this morning on behalf of the Reno Tahoe Airport Authority. I'm here today to speak in support of agenda items F1 and F2 related to minimum revenue guarantees and your Air Service Development Fund. And I just want to start out by thanking you for the support for Air Service Development. And we want to support those agenda items today. Our research shows that there's clearly a need for an increased budget for minimum revenue guarantees, otherwise known as MRGs, and for marketing opportunities that bring us on par with airports we're competing against. There are more than 350 commercial service airports in the US. I think all of them aspire to have more air service than they have today. And many of them have air service development support programs. And so we know air service development is an arms race in many ways. And we have to compete with so many other communities to try and attract airline seats to our market. It's a competitive pursuit, and success often comes down to community support and how strongly does a community support airline service. The agenda items today proposed by CEO Larraguetta and his team support air service development in our region, support growth of MRGs, and growing our fund that we can go and talk to airlines about what our community is willing to do in this region. I also want to just, talk about how important it is that we build business cases for airlines. I want to thank Mike and his team and members of the board for their support of our business cases. As you all know, we go on the road, we talk to airlines, we talk about what's happening in Northern Nevada and the growth here to try and pitch them on why they should add service to our region. Those visits are really important. Your support of those visits are really important. Your RSCVA team has joined us in these airline headquartered meetings. Mike recently went on the Spirit Airlines trip. Really important airline to us. Spirit is doing great here, growing. And in the process, we think of a merger with JetBlue. We'll see what the DOT ultimately has to say about that. But visits like that are so important that they see and hear from people besides me and my team, right? They know what I'm going to say before I step in the room. It's really important that they hear from you and see what the community is willing to do. I want to thank Rick Murdoch for his support of air service. Rick has been on the road with us. Spirit, Southwest, Alaska, he's a tireless warrior for air service. And again, it's so important that airline executives hear from people besides the airport authority who speak about, the growth of the region, the strength of the economy here, and plans that we have to grow. Also want to thank, Mayor Sheevy and her support of the fam trip that we had here. I think Mayor Sheevy talked with 7 or 8 airlines that were here that night. Rick hosted us at the restaurant. at the El Dorado, and we just had a great visit. And for an airline executive to come to town and to get that kind of FaceTime with the mayor and a representative, executive from Caesars is rare, and it moves the needle. That sort of impact, they don't forget that. And so, Stephen's support through RASC, thank you for your advocacy. This board is doing a lot for air service, and we appreciate it very much. And it really matters because it's what they will remember when they go back to Dallas or Seattle or Atlanta or wherever they're at. They're going to remember, what that experience was, who did they talk to, and what made an impact on them. So thank you so much to Mike and his team as we build the marketing relationships. I want to thank Richard J. for his support of both organizations and serving on both boards. I think I speak for Mike and I when I think our alignment and engagement together right now is as good as I've seen it in my 3 years. And I think probably well beyond that. Our teams are really synchronized as evidenced by these 2 agenda items today. So thank you for your support. We appreciate it very much. And thanks to Mike and his team for the partnership and everything you all do. Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Griffin. Do we have any other public comment?
None at this time.
Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close that item. Moving on to item C, consent agenda. Looking for a motion to approve, or if anyone wants to remove an item.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented by Mayor Sheedy, a second by Mr. Murdock. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item D1, tourism economics. We have a special guest in the house this morning that is going to present this item that is on this is informational. However, what he will be presenting will come up in our augmentation action item. So I'm going to go ahead and have Christina, did you want to say anything, or Mike?
Just
For
very
an
quickly.
introduction,
Thank
because I know it's not Travis. I'm reading my agenda and I know that's not right. I'll let
Yeah,
him go ahead and tee it off. Thank
yeah,
you.
thank you, Madam Chair. Mike Larragetta for the record. Just very quickly, and then I will turn the mic over to Christina. I wanted to thank Commissioner Hill and Mr. Esquaga and other board members that I've conversed with related to your feedback and the emphasis and importance of us looking at economic development as a priority of this organization moving forward. And so the senior leadership team got together, we looked into the opportunities and the companies that are out there that do this for a living. And we feel that we have really identified the best of the best in the industry, especially as it relates to hospitality. And so with that, we'll turn over to Christina where she can do the in-depth overview and introduction of Zeke.
Yes, so today we have Mr. Zeke Coleman here. He is the Vice President of the Americas for Tourism Economics, an Oxford economics company. Zeke has extensive experience in the travel industry. He is absolutely brilliant when it comes to data. He has experience on both the destination side, now here at Tourism Economics. Tourism Economics, with their highly specialized economists, they really can deliver global data, travel trends, and really explain the value of the visitor, of our events, of the industry. And Zeke can do a much better job at explaining it than I can. So without further ado, Mr. Zeke Coleman.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. I'm going to try to move fairly quickly. So I'd say, if you'll let me get through the first part of the overview I'm going to do, there'll be a break for questions, and then I'll try to jump into a super quick demo. We can kind of ask questions throughout, but I'd love to be able to finish and not hold you guys up too long. So without further ado, let me share my screen so the Zoom folks can see this. All right, wonderful. Thank you for having me. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of tourism economics. I'm going to show you why is this company important? Why should I listen to the Black dude? All right, so we're an Oxford economics company, as Christina was saying. So we're one of the world's leaders really in forecasting, and that's not just our opinion. We actually won this award on the far left 2 years in a row. This is the data kind of, breaking out. We beat out Citigroup, JP Morgan, Euromonitor, so some pretty big names that we were considered to be more accurate than when you look at the last 5 years. And one of the big divisions within Oxford is travel and tourism economics handles that practice globally for Oxford Economics. We serve a lot of different clients. Some of the more fun projects that our team works on would be with Live Nation. We've done Taylor Swift's analysis on all of her Eras tour, and Live Nation loves that so much that they asked us to do it for Beyonce. We've done analysis for Airbnb, the NFL, NASCAR, the Formula One stuff, a lot of different studies. When those companies want to know the impact of that business, they come to us. So that's what we're known for, our expertise, economic excellence. And then these are the three different offerings, as Christina kind of alluded to. If you want off-the-shelf data, you want to know who's traveling internationally, you want to know who's cruising, we have that data. Our consulting services, which I'll cover next, and then Symphony, which takes all that data, brings it together and makes it simple for non-economists to understand the story of what is the data saying. So first, I'll show you the first thing that we're presenting to you guys is our economic impact work. This is our bread and butter, and it's just a sample of a few pages of that study. What I love about this is it's really digestible, it's simple, it's straightforward, and it's really tailor-made for advocacy and for residents to know how is tourism impacting the community. I'll show you a little bit more on that. So this is the part that you get directly that is like a PDF that you could use. But here is when I'm asked to come into the community and present it. We break it down a bit more. So we give the highlights, we contextualize it for the community. How did spending rise? How does that compare to 2019? And then we blow it all up. So what does this mean in terms of state and local taxes, visitor volume, economic impact, jobs supported and generated? And then we go a bit deeper, like how has this changed each year coming out of the pandemic? How did spending change? How does that break out across different categories? What about each year and what does that percent look like? What about day versus overnight visitors? And we can do different versions of this for you. We can break it out quite a bit. And then we really go into the impact on non-tourism businesses. So this is, if you're gonna look at just, this is kind of a simplified version of economics, right? Direct spending is the dollar goes from the visitor to the hotel or casino. Indirect is when that casino then purchases goods throughout the supply chain. So they may go to the local farmers and grocers and replenish their stock. Induced is when the workers of that casino spend throughout the community. So that's the flow of that dollar. And that's what we then show. So the two center ones are indirect and induced sales, the spend of the businesses that are now supporting the community. And then we break that out further to show you what all that looks like. Now, I'm gonna speed through this, same thing for jobs. And then we give you the state and local taxes. And I love that our team contextualizes this. So for Frisco, we said the savings for each household were about a Dallas Cowboys season ticket, which has gone up. I've looked. So I live in Dallas, so yeah, you can't afford that anymore. So that's it. And here's kind of the wrap up that we give. So that's the consulting offering. That is economic impact work. That's us looking at all the different indicators that you guys have and giving you a pretty complete overview of what that data looks like. And you're getting it at a phenomenal price, a friend's count. So, and then Symphony. So Symphony takes all that data, brings it together, makes it simple. This is kind of the state of DMO research. This isn't unique to Reno. This is all over the country. We currently, I'll show you a list. We work with New York, LA, all the major markets, just about half the states. And the problem is data comes from everywhere. It's really useful, but teams are working in spreadsheets and they're not data and database experts. And so what we're doing is we're taking the heavy lifting off of them and making sure that the implications of that data is super clear. The reports are simple and easy to understand, which I'll hopefully show you in a second, and that it's easy to distribute. So the CEO of Augusta said he was about to hop on a plane, before the Masters, and a board member said, I need this or that random thing. And he said he was able to pull it in 10 minutes and send him a really pretty report. And I'll show you how that happened. But that's what we do. And we hear it. So the vice president of Houston said that Symphony's given her time to use the data for revenue generating decisions. And that's important. She said she'd use our reports weekly with her hoteliers. These are some of the partners, not all of them, but just we have some really close connections through our being an Oxford company. This is Symphony in a nutshell. The data on the left flows through our engine, and on the right comes beautiful reporting. Our process is pretty straightforward. Again, some quotes. Mike Radowski of Dallas says it saves his staff time. I know I'm going fast, but I just want to get through this overview. This is the nerd stuff. I'll just top line it. Basically, we store the data in Amazon. Snowflake's the data warehouse. Automation, I like to think of it like ChatGPT of Symphony, Matillion, Alteryx, all those fancy words just mean we take the spreadsheets and spit out reports. And then to make that data pretty, Tableau server, that's an example of it in that sort of screen grab where you can see those are phones that go to the website, and then we're telling you how many of those then come to the destination and where they came from, when they came, how long it took them to arrive, but in simple form so that you don't need to be a researcher to get it. The data we work with in simple order, your data. So any internal data that you're willing to visualize, marketing data, sales data, your vendor data, anything you're purchasing. So if you purchase credit card, you get that from the state, we can pull that in. Our data, which I've already gone over a little bit, and then partner and third-party data. The partner data is through our buying power, we can get data cheaper for you. And third-party data would be like workforce data, like BLS, which I'll show you on the upcoming slide. That's what LA Tourism CEO loves, getting new data that historically isn't available to DMOs. And what makes it new is, whoops, sorry, I'll get to that in a sec. What makes it new though is our economists. They basically model the data that is publicly available and drill down on it in a defensible way that you couldn't otherwise get without an economist at your fingertips. So here are the different groups that we serve: executive teams, marketing teams, sales teams. Here's some different benefits, generate decision-ready reports, track performance. For marketing, amplify marketing achievements, track media and web performance, identify top markets. This is gonna help make the team more strategic and also save time. And then again, these are some of the benefits for sales teams: track conversions, impacts of lost business, visualize bookings, and we integrate with some of the platforms that are key in our industry. So we have a really unique partnership with SimpleView, who you use for your CRM, and others that are sort of highlighted there. I was alluding to our economists, so this is workforce intelligence. It's not always needed, but when it is, it's really valuable to have, especially in the community. When you have a question about, quit rates and what's going to happen. But what's unique is our economists modeled this out for 3 years to tell you how your workforce could change over the next 3 years based on all the data brought in. That is new. That's something you couldn't get apart from us and an economist doing that. All right, it takes us 6 weeks to get you going. Once you say yes, we get access to the data. We're off to the races. I think we got Arkansas up in 5.5 weeks. And then this is our goal, right? Is to amplify your achievements. So this is really an advocacy play in a lot of ways. If the DMO is the community's North Star, when you have questions about workforce, you're coming to them. When you have questions about the impact and how it helps residents, you come to them. That's really helpful for getting buy-in. But then also the DMO's achievements. You want to be able to see what's our ROI, what's our return on investment for this organization. And we make that really clear. We're really focused on that. And if you do it well, everybody's collaborating and singing together, and they're champions of that common goal. I mentioned our partners last couple of slides. We have 150 travel organizations, more than half the US states and territories. We have most of the top 25 US metropolitan markets, small and medium, a lot of those, and leading international destinations. So you can see on the left, US Travel, Brand USA, the DMO for the country, Saudi Arabia. We have Dubai, we just signed. Half the states, including a light version of Symphony for Nevada. And they're basically getting the first part of the thing that I mentioned for you in the economic impact, a more macro view that's not as granular for Reno specific. They're just getting that in Symphony, so they're not getting other things that I'll show you. And then major markets, some small and medium markets, lots on there. We're running out of room. And yeah, that's basically it. So any questions as I transition into the actual environment, the demo environment?
Yeah.
Join if you have questions, and we do have our lights back. There she be.
Really quickly, I'm curious, have you ever done this like regionally? I'm curious about the impact from one to another. So let's like the airport, Edon, City of Sparks, City of Reno. I think that would be really interesting. Have you ever done anything like that?
So, yes, it just depends, as long as everyone buys in, basically, and everyone's willing to share the data, and depends on what level of sharing they want to do, but yes, we have.
Because it'd be interesting to see the drivers from one to another and which one's working and where we can improve.
Totally
I think
agree.
we're taking a much bigger regional approach now. And I mean, I do see the airports here today, and so we get a lot of support from each other, and I think that's a successful outcome, but I would love to see it breaking down to numbers. It'd be really cool. Okay, we'll talk. Thank you.
Mr. East, your button's not working, but I can see you want to ask a question. Go ahead.
You said if you do it right, and when we were talking about that, what, have you shared best practices with staff about what that looks like to do it well in terms of the data?
Totally,
You guys feel confident about it?
yeah.
How's the data getting fed? Is it APIs? How are we doing it?
There's a couple different ways, because there are so many data sources we bring in, primarily API, if there is one. If there isn't, like say the team just has spreadsheets that they're getting from a certain source, we get on that list and we have them send us the data. If it's something they can just log into, we even log in and pull that for them.
Okay.
So it depends. So sometimes it's a flat file, sometimes it's CSV, sometimes it's an API.
But we're not concerned with the data that you've seen so far, that you believe we'll have enough access to provide the kind of robust stuff that you're talking
Oh,
about.
yeah, it's gonna be a Ferrari. You guys have a great day.
Mr. Joel.
Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you. Kind of following up on Mayor Shivi's comment. So right now we have one entity, RSCVA. We were to get Reno, Sparks, Wash County, Edon, 5 entities in there.
Yeah.
All of this. How much bigger of an impact could this be? Does it give you more data? Does it give you, can it take it from a Ferrari to a Lamborghini?
Oh, yeah, it can.
How would that?
So we're already doing that, or working on doing that, I mean, more, with all our clients. So the top 25 markets are wanting to benchmark against one another. And they're not gonna share sensitive details, but allow themselves to understand what's happening in the market, so you can make more strategic decisions. So yeah, it'd be a game changer for you guys, for sure.
So I think that's something that we should try getting all 5 entities together, talk about, because more is better. More data, better data. So that's something I'd like to, see if we can pursue. It sounds like Mayor Hillary's.
Love it.
2 out of 3.
Mr. Chapman.
Thank you. So just to add on to that, I think that collaboration would be great, but I think as long as you could still pull out the individual, because I think that's one of the objectives here from a staff perspective, is to see how the work of the RSCVA is going forward. So yes, I would assume you can kind of piecemeal and pull out certain parts, but the broader thing would be great.
Totally.
My question was, on your spending data, where are you pulling that from? And both, maybe if you could speak on it both domestically and internationally.
Yeah, so it depends on which data source. So our data, when we report on spend, especially for international, Visa is an input. And we have a really good partnership with Visa along with a few other sources. For the domestic spend data, it's TransUnion. They acquired a company, Commerce Signals, that I worked with at my former firm. And they have 50 to 60% of all card spending in the US. It's $2.7 trillion. MasterCard, Visa, Discover, Credit, Debit, Apple Pay, all of that.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Murdoch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's interesting because we're all working for, we do a lot of special events, and this would identify our most successful, and also, do you guys recommend changes to that? If should we be doing more concerts in the ballpark? Should we be doing a day on the green at San Rafael Park, or should we be doing something in the convention center? Do you guys get that finite detail that shows?
We do, yeah. So you guys will have a senior client manager, Cindy Decker.
Yeah.
She was the VP of research at Visit Houston. She was also a leader for Marriott for 25 years. She's excellent. She's so friendly. She's super smart. And yeah, so she'd be your day to day, but then whenever there's a big question like that, we basically pull all the brains in and solve it. So yes, you'd have access.
And also, this would be airport data too, all of the tying in how important, like, I think Mayor Sheedy mentioned it, but tying in all the big drivers. And I think what we've learned in our community is the more we all, I've always been under the impression we want to keep it local because we like giving everybody the business to stay in the cycle of life. So that'll help us guide us on a lot of things, I think.
100%. Yep, and you will have airport data, directly from the TSA, but then if the airport would like to share anything,
Yeah.
easy to pull that in, so
To tie it back to our visitation, our rooms,
totally.
our recreation, how many fly in for concerts, how many, things like that.
Yep, and then I'm gonna show you, so I'll go ahead and,
Zeke, I have one more question,
oh,
Mr.
sure.
Speaker.
Yeah, let's go.
You sure?
Yep.
You want to wait till later?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, I just want to make sure that we, I'm gonna close this because I know I need to probably refresh. There. And there. I'll open this one. All right, so this is, make sure everyone can see. All right, in a nutshell, this is Symphony. Okay, you guys don't see this folder, which is great. Sorry, one second. All right, so when you first log in, all the reports are grouped into these different folders. You click in, you jump around, you can see whatever you need. You see Puerto Rico has quite a bit. This is one of the things I love about Symphony is that our team, like I mentioned, actually reads your data every single month, and they give you commentary monthly on the data. What's changed, what's new, what's interesting. They're gonna summarize it. That's what these comments are over here, working on some AI stuff to make that even more interesting. And then this is a recovery indicator, just looking at hotel demand, room revenue, jobs, airport throughput, but it really could be anything you want. And then on the far right, those are, that little infographic view just gives you those totals. If you click on the lodging tab, you can see for Pasadena, they're interested in weekday versus weekend hotel indicators, rate performance. What I want to show is how customizable this is. This is Puerto Rico. Looks similar. However, they've added in short-term rental data. And when you look at their lodging tab, it's very different. They actually are looking at the hotels versus short-term rental data. So depending on what you want or find important, we can pull that in. And case in point, they also have cruise, which isn't relevant to Pasadena. So just depends on the data that you're trying to display. One more example, this is the state of Illinois, completely different look and feel. Again, we're tailoring it to what do you want? What do you need to communicate? We're always trying to make sure that it's straightforward for your community. So we'll work with the team to build this out properly. Another thing, I mentioned that the CEO of Augusta got things out really quickly, so I'm gonna do that. So you can download an image, CSV, a PDF, I'm gonna do PowerPoint. And you can do, if there's multiple tabs, you can do the entire workbook. And this, again, this is meant to save time. I worked at Visit Savannah, so I worked at a CVB where I had to pull this stuff together, such a pain. But if you can download really quickly the presentation like I just did, you have it all there, ready to go, pop it into your board meeting or send it off in an email. It's really convenient, goal. So that's that. Another thing, you don't have to do this, but I just want to show, some destinations embed on a website and make it accessible that way. So to whatever degree you choose to do that, you can also have it behind, a firewall, password protected. This is the state of South Dakota, a little more vertical. Just wanted to flash that on the screen real quickly, so you know that can happen. Here also is credit card data, so I'll show this really quickly. This is the TransUnion data. What we're showing here is you can break it out by month. You can regroup the timeframes to conduct a different report. This is the amount spent, and you got your year over year. This is the number of visitors. These are the number of transactions, where they came from, their age, their income, and the categories they spent on. What I love personally is the merchant detail. What's great about this is you can actually see where the dollar's flowing throughout the community. Now, you're not breaking it down to like, okay, they did this at this particular, they bought this many widgets at Bass Pro Shop, but you can see on the category level, bars. You can see, restaurants, even fast food, even some lodging. You've also got origin markets. You can filter. You've got demographics, and I'm giving you guys like a super fast version just to try to get through it. Spending categories, by age, by income level, and this allows you to, again, be pretty tactical. Now, to the fun stuff. Let me get to this one. So this is location data. This is looking at for, Nashville, the month of February. We're telling you how long they stayed, what percent stayed overnight, the repeat visitation, what state they came from, what city, how far they drove or traveled, some cases it's fly, top points of interest, a little bit of visitor profile info, looking at the census block, and then a heat map. If you were to click, say Kentucky, which is really close to Tennessee, you'll see that length of stay go down quite a bit. 2/3 overnight, 1/3 repeat. You can see this mostly drive, the airport's number 2. You pick Florida, watch how the airport shoots up, which makes sense, right? And now that's probably mostly fly market, 2.5 days over length of stay, mostly overnight, 1/4 repeat. And you can mix and match this to create reports on the fly. So if I click Kentucky, if I go down to control, and then even if I wanted to scroll, say I wanted the 11 through 20, I could download all this real easy. Like I just showed, I won't do the PowerPoint, but you get the picture. So that's exactly what I was just showing on the screen. It's very, very fast. It's meant to save time, make you strategic, and then share information out super easy.
It's opening in another screen that we're just not seeing, just so we're aware.
Say what?
It's not showing on the screen.
Oh.
But that's okay.
I'm sorry.
Because it's opening up another window. That's why
And I
we're
only
seeing it,
shared
yeah.
apologies.
No.
Here is, so this is, you were talking about events. So this is a way that you could sort of look at events. So this is, you're able to come in, choose the date. So I actually know that there was an event. This is in Nashville on March 7th to March 9th. And probably wrap it up here because I don't want to monopolize too much time. But, by the way, I've been doing this for a long time, and this is the fastest platform I've ever been in. Like by a long shot. Sometimes you're sitting just waiting on things to load because you're processing, in some cases, millions of devices, and you're filtering it and saying, tell me the one that did this, 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 and that. And it's like, okay, thinking. You can change the dwell time to 40 minutes to make sure they weren't just driving by. And then we have different exclusions to clean the data. There's no highways, there's no weird stuff. But this is telling you how many were, in this case, local, how many were from out of town, domestic, the percent of out of towners that stayed overnight, the percent of out of towners that hadn't been there in 12 months, where they came from, visitor profile, heat map, and then top cross-visited points of interest. So in other words, they went to this event center. Where else did they go over these days? And you can do that by category. You can look at the entire, all hotels, airport, in Palm Springs, they have their cannabis dispensaries polygon so that they can see, how many people visit that actually go there. So a lot of questions that you can answer, and we'll be with you every step of the way to answer those. All right. Any questions?
I do have.
Mr. Murdoch?
I don't wanna, are you done? Because I don't wanna interrupt your presentation.
Totally done. Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I didn't know if you had more and I didn't want to interrupt.
We're open to questions. Go ahead, Archie.
Really quickly, I'm curious, it's really impressive, the data that you're getting into, because you're really, just taking like every detail that we probably have all been sort of curious about. I'm wondering, do you guys have any like data outcome generators? And what I mean by that, because you were showing like the credit card. So let's just say, for instance, Peppermill realizes that, 90% of their visitors all have a Visa credit card. They decide to do a promotion with Visa because obviously it's showing the data is there. So I'm curious, do you have anything like that after the data? What has been successful? What are sort of promotions, things that you can leverage this data for the outcome? Does that make sense?
Do you mean
Like partnerships and sponsorships and things like that? Like, do you have any success cases that you could point to because of this data?
Oh, yeah, ton.
That you could help us with, so let's just say, hey, we realize that, 90% of our visitors all have a Visa credit card. Like, or just something, I'm just saying, like, if I put some really strong data that shows we need to be marketing to this.
Totally, yeah, we would help you to build out that business case, but yes, and because of who we work with and how long we've been sort of industry leaders, like, we've got a lot of different case studies that could assist you.
Yeah, because I think sometimes we fly blind because we don't know that data. So. Okay,
Go ahead, Mr. Murdoch.
Thank you. Do you do any kind of brand analysis, like for the region, or how's the Reno Tahoe brand work? Do you guys analyze any of that, or you?
It depends on what you mean. So we have partnered organizations that do that specifically purely from a sentiment standpoint, meaning they do survey research.
Right.
We do it from a dollars and cents perspective. So we could tell you the dollars and cents of the organization. It's an organizational ROI product.
But we find out what is the best brand for the region, or is there a way?
Oh, you mean like creative direction?
Yeah.
We wouldn't do that. No.
You don't do that?
Yeah. So a lot of the organizations that do come to us for different analysis points on that, but then, yeah, we're more science than art.
Mr. Skaka.
Oh, thanks, Zeke, and kind of sipping from the fire hose on this. I mean, there's a lot of, you can see where there's so many possibilities. A couple just observations. I think I can see the application when we're talking about city, Edon, county. I think this is probably a good first step, starting with us and really almost the test drive of the Ferrari for a year. I do also think John's point of there's gotta be some ownership on the RC. I think this is only as good as we really embrace it. And I'm curious if there's other DMOs where you almost have a specific, I think obviously Christina's the point. But I think it's one of those tools where it's as much as you really use it and really maximize all the bells and whistles. I don't know if you've had experience in other gaming markets, because you look at what comes out from the state. We have something called the gaming abstract that it drills down by county, by Reno Sparks. So I'm assuming that's probably gonna be a feed that you would want to tap into. And then and again, these are just more open comments, but lastly, I don't know if it's been on your end from a legal standpoint, but as we get into the contract to approve this, who owns that data? And if we were to part ways after 3 years, where does that data belong in? Because we're in that era, right? Where does this go?
Yeah, so you own it 100%. The only thing we own are the formulas and basically the economist model to get to new things, but you own it. And if we were to part ways, we would deliver that right back to you in simple order. And then regarding usage, we agree. So basically, if you guys don't use it, you're gonna cancel and you're gonna say it was terrible, even though you didn't use it, which is okay, because I did that too. We would make sure that you use it, and we actually track usage. So we sort of are starting to send out the rock star of the month or whatever. So we can see all usage, what reports are the hottest and everything. This is internal, but in order to encourage clients to be in there, we're just letting them know.
Is there, I'm assuming pretty extensive, ramp up and training for Christina and your staff now?
Yes, I'm sorry. So we've obviously had these discussions internally, Mr. Squaga and Robert Douglas, who has been kind of our go-to for running all data and reports and everything he puts on our website. He's actually was on vacation prior to us getting to this point, so he'll be running through an extensive training and demo with Zeke and his team and our leader who was appointed that he mentioned. Can't remember her name. Cindy.
Yep.
And so Robert definitely will be brought up to speed.
Yeah, you guys will have weekly, bi-weekly meetups, probably for the first 6 months, and then after that, monthly if you wanted. But yeah, we'll train you.
We will be working hand in hand with their team, not only our account lead, but also with their economist. So that's what we're looking at, is having at least those two people and having frequent touch points with both of those representatives from their team.
Mr. Atlas, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Squaga asked a lot of my questions, but so I apologize, came late. Are we currently under contract with, are they under contract with RSCVA? Are we entertaining a contract? What's the relationship with tourism economics?
Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Sure, thank you. Mike Larrigan for the record. So, Mr. Adler, we, at the request of a few of our board members, Commissioner Hill, Mr. Squaw on performance, had a conversation with Mr. East as it relates to this subject matter. We went out and identified this organization as the best of the best. As part of our budget and augmentation, we've allocated funds to go into a 3-year agreement with this company. We're looking at just under $100,000 per year, so it would be a 3-year commitment.
So follow up to that, with the robust nature of what you all can do. Mr. Squaga asked about gaming. I'm really interested in sort of the intersectionality of how gaming affects this region. I think there's such tremendous opportunity, not just for our region, but for all the different representatives that sit on this board, but also exist throughout our region. And to the point about our municipalities and county and other entities, the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce would love to see some of the business data that exists within this platform. What way can we, are we in for the $100,000 a year, but how do we magnify this opportunity? I mean, Mayor Sheedy brought this up. I think it's phenomenal, but we're now looking at a couple puzzle pieces of our region. How do we really get a full view of that? And what do we need to do in order to make those next steps happen?
Yeah, so I flashed through the logos real quick, but we do a lot of work for the American Gaming Association as well. So a lot of experience there and expertise among our economists. But you could, to whatever extent you want to bring in some data, we can do it. So there's learnings to be had.
So Madam Chair, maybe my questions to you and staff. Is there a way we can reach out to our partners and find they also share interest? I mean, I'm happy to go back to speak with the chamber, but I think there's such valuable opportunities with this. I mean, getting it established this year is great. I get it. They're not going to go out and broker on our behalf. We sort of have to do that to create that partnership. Or is there a plan to go for a year, see if it's worthwhile, and then build from there?
I mean, I think those are all really great discussions, and yeah, we haven't signed on yet, so we'd probably sign on and test drive it as you will, as we're talking about Ferraris. And then, yeah, what this program, the capabilities, I mean, the number of tabs, and I mean, you kind of even saw it on the left-hand column, the capabilities of this platform are massive. We are getting a lot for what we are spending, but you can take it to the next steps pretty easily. And that would be a hope, is we can start, get our feet comfortable, and then grow it throughout the entire region and community, is our hope.
I think to your point, just to add to that, is as it relates to the chamber, obviously, I think businesses, members of the chamber would find this information very valuable, to the point where, to Mr. Murdoch's point, when we look at a month that is consumed and what was the makeup of our mix for that month, and then correlate that to the spend as it relates to the businesses in the community, it helps us drive our strategy. Is, whether it's we did more group, or we did more FIT, or we did more gaming, or what was the mix of the makeup of that group? Was it more on the pharmaceutical side, or the medical side, or the corporate side, or association side? It'll really give us the tools in defining our strategy on what kind of business we're going after that benefits the community.
Awesome.
And what was discussed today, the spend data, the location data are all a part of the contract we are looking at. So that breakdown that he shared, that is part of the contract that we'll make.
Yeah, and I agree. And obviously sentiment seems to be really, how can we go beyond? I think we're looking at a starting point for us and test driving, and then looking at what our potential is for municipalities, for businesses, for Chamber Airport, to make it even bigger and better. Absolutely. Mr. Jane.
Thank you. Can you go back to the slide, please, where you said, these are all available reports that we would have? There's one in particular, I think it said economy and economics.
Did you say,
Kind of said, these are the available reports that we would have. You pulled it up on the, it's not on the PowerPoint, it's in the,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, that's okay.
It is in. I'll just put it on hold. Desktop. All right, was it here?
Yeah,
Yep.
so economy and labor market, so how robust is that? Are you getting, where are you getting the information? What information is in there? Are you pulling information from the Federal Reserve Beige Book or, you know, the FOMC, you know? What does that economy and labor market really mean?
Yeah, so in there, that's particularly workforce, that folder. However, we work with the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Really, though, it's any and every organization that you're interested in.
Okay.
So every destination is different and it's kind of tailor-made to fit your needs. We have relationships with pretty much all of them.
So, you know, everybody's concerned about next year, the recession.
Correct.
But now the latest economic numbers coming out says only a possibility of 34% chance of a recession.
Yep.
Would stuff like that be in this?
Yes, you would have that. In that executive summary, the bottom two bullets are national and they're gonna include comments from our companies.
And then you'll have regional as well.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and
great.
if you ever have a question, like, we're a consultancy and we treat it like that, you just call us and ask, like, what do you
Okay.
think's happening? We'll tell you.
That's exciting. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Mr. Chapman, did you have another question?
Thank you. So going back to the access, I just want to clarify, I think in this initial year, it's kind of RSCVA is inside the machine. I think, I don't know if it's like, we're opening up the online access to a broad group within the community. I think the reports and things are coming out of that. So I just want to clarify that, because I think that's the way this will go from a user standpoint or a licensing standpoint.
Correct.
And if we can expand on it to other jurisdictions and partners later, great. A quick, you mentioned short-term rentals, and I think it was with Puerto Rico, and obviously we're keenly interested in the short-term rentals on the Washoe Tahoe side. Are you pulling that from AirDNA?
So we have pretty good partnership with AirDNA and Key Data.
Okay.
Those are two that we directly partner with,
Great,
but we've also worked with Transparent and some of the others.
okay. And then just a quick question on location data. I think I saw Datafy. Is that your main
Correct.
source of location data?
Well, no, so, sorry. In this case, we are working directly with NEAR, but we also have Datafy and Arrivalist as, again, partnerships that we have.
Great, all right, thank you.
Okay. Zeke, thank you so much. We will be coming back. As we look at the budget augmentation, it would be one of the items under consideration as part of our augmentation for the actual cost. Thank you. Great presentation. Moving on to item E1, department updates. Mr. Larragetta.
Sorry, saying your goodbyes. Zeke also played Division I basketball, in case anybody cares. Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Mike Larragetta. Today, as part of our department updates, myself, Christina Ernie, and Art will just give very brief updates. I want to start my opening by saying happy holidays to everybody. Hopefully you enjoy your gifts that we selected. If you didn't, it's Art's fault because he picked them out, so. Go on record on that. We also have the airport's gifts. They haven't arrived yet, so yours are in transit, supply chain issues, but we will get those to you. I also want to thank the members of the board that attended our annual holiday party, especially Mr. Esquaga for hosting us at the Peppermill. It was a very positive, energetic evening. We had nearly 150 staff members and guests. Thank you, Chair Bivey, Commissioner Hill, again, Mr. Esquaga, and who else showed up? I'm missing somebody. And Mr. J. Sorry, he sat at my table. I should remember. But it was.
Joe got kicked out.
Yes, yeah, it was a really fun evening. I think the employees truly enjoyed themselves, and we're very thankful. Some of the staff that has been here a long time made comments that it was the best event we've had in over a decade. So thank you for those that attended. And again, thank you for hosting us. It was great.
Sorry, Mr. J was on a security report next.
Yes.
Can you take care of that for me? Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. So my update is going to focus, hopefully it gets up here, here they go, is primarily on some of the highlights since our last board meeting. Just in different areas, so I will just fly through these and then I will turn it over to Christina and then Art. So first and foremost, we obviously have had a very strong Q4 and Q1 that'll be reflected in the budget documentation that Ms. Jager will present shortly. For those of you that attended the Chamber Alliance event, one of the things that I touched on was September, which was a all-time record high in terms of our performance. As you can see on the slide, we did over 54, almost 55 million in taxable room revenue. In terms of what those numbers represent compared to last year at almost just under 50 million, nearly a $5 million increase. And again, the most successful, highest performing room tax revenue on record. Also at the Alliance event, I announced that we are extremely excited for the first time ever to host these two events concurrently in October of 2025. This is obviously a win for the entire destination, as it shows the world that Reno Tahoe is inclusive and welcoming to diverse audiences. And we hope that Gay Days is in negotiation right now to actually contract 2 years, and the host hotel is GSR. So very excited about that opportunity. In October at IMEX this year, we unveiled a new booth. We made a decision both as the RSCVA and through our stakeholders that joined us the show to downsize our footprint. IMEX is the largest show in terms of buyer supplier on the meetings and convention side domestically. And it's a very expensive show to participate. So the monies that we saved in downsizing from a 20 by 20 to a 10 by 20 allowed us to create, purchase, and unveil this brand new booth. Obviously, the city model on the right is still by far our most popular trade show exhibit item. It draws people just from a standpoint of coming up, walking, looky-loos, until obviously customers. It really is a visual enhancement of us showing the destination, the proximity, the ease of moving throughout our entire destination from the airport to downtown to the convention center to obviously Lake Tahoe. So great booth, really a true representation. Thank you to the team and Tracy Harris and her team for putting that all together. We've made an emphasis to obviously get more involved as it relates to community engagement. The team went out and we have an adopted park in the community, at McKinley Arts and Culture Center. And so October 20th, we went out and did our annual leaf breaking. I can't remember how many bags we ended up, 30 something. We were all sore the next day, but it was great and we did it.
Literally sweating.
We were literally, and unfortunately it was a really warm day, but you can see we all had our Reno Tahoe t-shirts on. We had a great outpouring of staff and commitment and showing up. So thank you for the team for doing that. In a future date, we had a date in December, but we had a schedule conflict that will be going to the Food Bank of Northern Nevada. Again, on an event that we feel that is very important to us and giving back to the community. So we'll be doing that in the next few weeks. We recently just participated in a holiday showcase in Chicago. And as part of our commitment to giving back to the community, we had customers, we do obviously a holiday themed booth. We do a Christmas tree and we do ornaments, and we have the client sign the ornament and provide their email. And for every client that puts an ornament on the tree, we donate $5 back to Big Brothers Big Sisters. Obviously a huge win for everyone. And then this Saturday, we'll be participating in Operator Santa Claus at the airport. So we will be there Saturday. Thank you, Mr. J, for bringing that. And that is a benefit to the Children's Cabinet. As part of our facility activation plan, we have started monthly bowling tournaments at the National Bowling Stadium. We held one November 30th, and each one of these events, we will do one tournament per month. If we see that they are successful, we will obviously increase those numbers moving forward. And Renee McGinnis and her team and Courtney Mann have done a fabulous job of organizing and running these events. We partner with a charity for every one of these tournaments. Once we have covered our expenses, all proceeds are donated back to the charity. Our first event was on November 30th, and the benefit was Eddie House. It's National Youth Awareness Month to support at-risk youth. And we also did raffle and give prizes to those that attended. In December, on December 14th, and we'd love for all you to join, by the way, if you can make it, we'd love to have you there. We'll be doing a holiday bowl, and the benefit is Ashley's Toys Closet. This is obviously children affected by economic conditions and natural disasters. Again, we'll be giving out prizes and doing a raffle at that event. This is just a shot from the November event with Eddie Bowles. I think we had 28 lanes occupied out of the 78. It was a very quick turn, but the team did a great job of getting the message out, and we really feel that we will build momentum and get more people into the facility as we open that up on a monthly basis. We did a sponsorship of Big Brothers Big Sisters on November 16th in conjunction with Disney on Ice. Thank you, Mayor Sheevy, for stopping by and saying hello. And I know that you also hosted some underprivileged children as well that night. It was really well received. We had a great outpouring. We stocked the suite with goodies and gifts and food and beverage for the children, and it was a great outpouring, and they really appreciated it. So just wanted to update the board on that. Sorry, I went right into your video. And with that, that concludes my update. Any questions before I turn it over to Malcerni?
No, but
Sure.
can I just say,
Yes.
that event honestly was so heartwarming. I just hope this board knows how much those children appreciate it. One of them was, I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? She said, I want to be a flight attendant. And I said, well, that's funny because your ticket came from Charlene. And she said, can we call her? But I have to tell you, it was one of the best things I did. And it just made me so, so grateful. I think we forget a lot of times, but each one of them were invited individually from the board. And it was very sweet when they would open up, like especially the little boy you got. Sean, a scoot go wild. Because I tried to get it on video, but each time he just kept getting a little more shy. But I do want you guys to know that it was just so nice of the RSCVA to do. And it resonated a lot in the community. A lot of those children are living at the shelter currently, and you know, their Christmas is really tough. So I want to thank you guys. And it was just nice. It was a very personalized touch from the board, which I haven't seen before. So I want to thank you guys.
Thank you. And we'll be sending that. We have an email. It's a very long email. I didn't want to send it out and present it today, but to the mayor's point, we have pictures of all the kids with their cards, and we had them signed from all of you and their gifts and some of the messages, and we'll send it out today.
Extremely heartwarming. Thank you guys so much.
One quick question.
Yes, sir.
On the return of the gay rodeo, is it in the outdoor venue or will it be in the inside?
So that's a really good question. I believe it's on the outdoor, it's in the outdoor, yes.
Great.
Yeah, next year, confident outdoor.
Good deal.
You know what time of year?
October.
Christina?
Huge. Yes, thank you, everyone. I'm gonna just jump right into it, because Mike already pressed play, but I'm gonna kick it off with, many of you know, I announced it at a previous meeting that we worked with NBC to be the featured destination in one of their travel shows called First Look. It aired last month on November 11th, and it aired on NBC. It's also streaming on Peacock. You can now watch it for free on YouTube. But there was a request to also share a clip of the episode at today's board meeting, so everyone can see it here. And so without further ado, I will press play. And also in addition to that, this travel show, it covers destinations from around the globe. And so to have Reno Tahoe as the featured destination, it's through a relationship we have with one of their producers, was such an incredible opportunity. And I think it's really exciting to see a company like NBC see the energy that's happening within our destination and have them approach us and want to cover it based on what they're seeing out in the media, out in the community. I think it's such a great time for our region. So here I will play.
Adventure is fuel for life. From its highs,
Rock and roll, baby.
to its lows. And there's a place that captures that spirit. A community of creatives mastering the art of the unexpected. In the biggest little city in the world, Reno, Tahoe. Fast forward to today, and that spirit of empowerment presses on with a new boss in town.
Tabitha? There she is. I feel underdressed. How's it hanging? I just came from a meeting. Welcome to Reno.
Mayor Hillary Sheevy, champion for the
Great Reno Revival, and one of Politico's 11 most interesting mayors, has her eye on the future. when I got into office, I wanted to diversify our community. I think it's really important, whether it comes to art, culture, food, innovation, technology. I wanted to embrace all of that. And we started building relationships with Burning Man, the university. People started to take notice, and the companies started building and investing here. Nestled in the heart of the Sierra Nevada mountains, Reno is just 30 minutes away from some of the best skiing in the world. This is Sky Tavern, the oldest non-profit ski facility in America. But in the heat of the summer, adventurers trade in their skis for wheels, hell yeah, and let it ride. And just over the mountain, you'll find the crystal blue waters of Lake Tahoe. And while most visitors come here to take in some summer fun, there's a small group of dedicated divers who are here to give back. As a dive master myself, I couldn't help but gear up and join the cause. There's two types of divers in the world. Those who keep their wetsuit, or those who live under. The Generator is a non-profit community makerspace. They've existed about 10 years now and grew out of a need for a large fabrication space for building projects for Burning Man. It is about helping people grow into a more realized version of themselves. In Reno, every spin and every roll is a dance with Lady Luck. And while some visitors test their odds at its many iconic casinos, others embark on a treasure hunt to uncover another kind of jackpot. Before I came to Reno, I told a friend, oh, I'm going up to Reno. They said, number one place I had to stop was Chunky. I was going to Chunky, and they're like, you'll see. Another Midtown staple is Parapol Dimmerfogel's Rice Box Kitchen, ranked on Yelp's top 100 places to eat in the United States, and his next rising star, Noodle Box Kitchen. We're gonna make boat noodles today. What would you say is your favorite thing about Reno? The people, definitely. People are real. They're not fancy or, snooty. You can meet a millionaire at the steakhouse and you wouldn't even know he had $1. A lot of people just don't realize Reno is actually a very accepting city. You be whoever you want to be and enjoy life. Well, I've had a fantastic week. I've gotten to climb to the tallest artificial rock wall. I've gotten to go mountain biking, scuba diving. I've got to try incredible clothes, and I've got to have some of the best damn noodles I've ever had in my entire life. This tops off as just being one of the sweetest trips I've ever taken. Unpretentious food, unpretentious people. Aww. Cheers to that. Right? All it takes is a touch, and I am free.
It's such a nice job, I feel, and I mean, the point of the show is really connecting with the communities near Stevie. Thank you so much for putting on heels and climbing for us.
I've done that.
Not many mayors would do that.
Every time I like cringe, I'm like, oh, when you call me, you're like, can we?
We got an idea.
And I'm like, oh geez, what?
Put on a suit, put on your heels, but thank you.
Christina's being very humble. A lot of that happened because they are very fond of Christina, and she's reached out to them and said, have you guys looked at Reno? And they really, I mean, there was a connection there, but it was really because Christina
Thank you.
exudes the love of this place. And they were like, yes, we'd like to come and see what it's all about. So
Yeah.
really, I think at the end of the day, Christina has a lot to do with that. And just so everyone knows, it airs right after SNL.
Mhm.
So it actually has a lot of reach.
Yep.
It's got a lot of reach. I had a lot of email coming into my office afterwards.
Oh, good. They saying those aren't the right shoes for climbing.
Well, actually,
Just kidding.
someone was like, where do you get those climbing shoes? My new entrepreneurial side hustle.
Yeah.
Shark Tank net.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I mean, I think it really showed our destination well, and to amplify our efforts as a vibrant and inclusive community. I think they did a great job. So in addition to that, a couple of numbers, we also, with the launch of this episode, we launched our No Limits campaign that we shared with you guys at the last board meeting, and I just want to give you some preliminary stats. While it's only been running a month, our ad that ran throughout NBC and Peacock and on their streaming platforms and retargeting platforms had a 99% video completion rate, which is, it's so high, with 1.7 million views who watched our entire ad. So that was also really impressive to see everyone engaging with our new ad campaign as well. In addition to the show, the host, Tabitha, she is a personality in herself. She was covering the destination on her social media. First Look NBC also sharing it across their social media as well. Next up, I was going to cover some of our gaming partnerships that we have done recently in an effort to include more of our gaming efforts throughout some of our content. We partnered with Condé Nast and brought in a professional poker player who highlighted not only some of the gaming around the region, but also food and spa. We also brought in another group, All Casino Action, who covered slots, blackjack, 3-card poker. They had over 800,000 views on their social media channels as well. In addition to bringing in gaming specific influencers, we've also been incorporating gaming into some of our other partnerships to highlight the diversity of our destination. We worked with GQ and brought in an influencer, El Rene, who not only covered the slots, but also went fly fishing and exploring downtown Reno. And one of our efforts is to not only collaborate with the influencers, but collaborate with a major brand as well to amplify those efforts. I'm flying through these, but if anyone has no questions, please. Next up, we did a big partnership. We've been really boosting our partnership with Outside. They have really enjoyed working with us. There's some exciting things on the table that I will bring to the group here in the short future as well. But I think this all even helps bring, we all saw the accolade Happiest Town, and I think it doesn't hurt that we're working with them pretty frequently. And one of the activations we did recently was we brought in 3 different influencers with them and highlighted 3 different ways to explore the destination. One of the influencers has a 1-year-old baby, and our new segment of very active and ambitious mothers. I mean, she had her baby on her backpack hiking throughout the destination, took the baby into downtown Reno, went and explored the Riverwalk, and it was just a heartwarming video. But I already shared 1 video today, so I promised only 1. Another one that we did is BuzzFeed. We have a really good ongoing partnership with them, and we did some quizzes. We had content creators again come in and did some custom articles on their pages. But and with all of that, we had about 48 million impressions, 75,000 clicks to our website. But one of the activations that I wanted to highlight was BuzzFeed. Because we work with them so frequently, they asked us to be their first destination, and they know we think outside the box and we're innovative. They're like, would you like to be the first destination who has AI travel quizzes? And so people who are on their website would take a quiz and, working through AI, pull an itinerary together. And one of the fun ones that got over 6 million impressions was the gaming quiz that was roll the dice and see if you'd win big in Reno. And so people loved that. I want to say they engaged with it. It was over 3 minutes of reading time on the quizzes. So they weren't just taking the quizzes and bouncing out the 3-minute average viewership time on those landing pages. And it was really fun to see with AI. It would highlight specific restaurants, riverwalks, gaming entities. And based on how you answered your quiz, there's even one like, after you check out an art gallery, what would you want to do? Grab a drink, go for food, and then the AI would choose some entities around town. So it's really great that BuzzFeed chose us to be their destination that they launched this with. That's it for me, but one more thing. Also, speaking of AI coming down the pipes, is we're working with Matador and Meta right now, the Facebook parent company, and we're working on having a AI chatbot with them, and they've asked us to be one of their partners as well, launch partners at destinations throughout the entire globe to work with them and launching that with Meta and Matador here shortly as well. We're in the beta stage, just fleshing out some of the bugs before we fully launch that, but stay tuned for that.
Awesome.
Any questions before I have to start?
That's great.
Yeah, great. So I just got a comment back to that NBC piece too, because that tells the story better than, I think we were such a tough destination to truly, we almost need to take somebody through it. And that did a great job. I really,
Thank you.
yeah, hats off in the relationship with them but that really was a great piece.
Video tells our story. I feel better than
Yep.
anything. It's the next best thing to getting them here. And that's why we really prioritize our video efforts and we really pride ourselves on those 99% completion views. Even outside of that NBC launch, just to update the board, the No Limits campaign is performing so well, even outside of that buy. I think it's a 93% average video completion rate through our ads across the board, whether that's Spotify, OTT, connected TV, and then even just preliminary numbers and going back to our landing page traffic is up 55% so far year over year. So it's performing pretty well.
Great.
Yeah.
Great job. And I think also what makes it, what you're showing us now, really draws people here are what the one gentleman said are the people. So really interviewing locals and getting their voices of what it's like to be here, to have a business here, to travel here, tells our story. And I love that. Art?
Madam Chair.
Oh,
Just real
sorry.
Thanks for including Clean Up the Lake. Those guys are doing
They
phenomenal
are.
work and we just met with them and expanding our relationship with them as well. Those guys are doing
Fantastic.
great work up there. So anything
Yeah.
we can do to promote those guys. and push
Yep.
it.
I know they just opened up their dive shop in North Lake Tahoe and they've been great partners with us with the Leave No Trace partnership, now with this partnership. Anytime we ask them to get involved, they're so happy to get involved in. I mean, it just helps that message also of that clean up your trash when you come and visit here and treat our destination respectfully.
Art?
Go back to follow. Good morning, Art Jimenez for the record. Just a quick little update on some new tourism sales programming on the international front. So in order to increase our international awareness, we've contracted with two firms in fiscal year 24 to promote the RSCVA, one in Mexico and one in Canada. Sales Internacional is based in Mexico City. They've been in business for over 40 years, and our sales and marketing efforts will be in both the travel trade and PR channels. The team will focus their efforts in Mexico City with over 25 million residents, Guadalajara, a little over 8 million residents, and Nuevo Leon, almost 6 million residents. So initially, Sales Internacional is going to focus on identifying tour operators that are currently selling ski and winter activities so that we can position our winter activities along with these tour operators. And then we'll shift gears into spring and summer as we move forward. Also, Sales Internacional is going to concentrate on promoting the Volaris nonstop flights coming out of Guadalajara. Again, over 8 million residents, people reside in Guadalajara, so there's a lot of opportunities there. So the majority of our fiscal 24 activities are going to concentrate on training and awareness. We have to really, really crawl before we can even really start walking in and forget about running right now. But again, we're going to develop a series of live tour operator in-person presentations and webinars, email broadcasts, and digital outreach targeting 5,000 sellers of travel in Mexico. In Canada, north of the border, we've contracted with Canuck Kiwi, and they're based in Vancouver. And they've been in business for nearly 14 years. And most of our programming is going to be on the PR channel, a PR for both travel trade and consumers. So the Canuck TV team is going to focus efforts on the Western Canada with Edmonton and Calgary, with each over 1 million residents respectively, and Vancouver nearing about 1 million residents. And initially, we're going to promote just the Four Seasons and road trips. Canadians do like to take a nice long road trip. And since Canuck Kiwi also works with Travel Nevada and North Lake Tahoe, we're going to be looking for some synergies to promote the destination up in Canada. Just a quick little update on what we're doing internationally. Thank you.
Thank you all for your updates.
Thank you, Art and Christina, great job. Just one last slide from the executive update. Most of you are familiar with this slide of things that we have been working on as a senior staff during this transitional period. The team spoke and mentioned and touched on most of these, just a few other highlights I'd like to share with the board. So we have hired Kristen Spratlin as our venue sponsorship sales manager. Her responsibility is to sell advertising sponsorship within our facilities and then also to sell the RSC suites at the REC, which is another item I want to share, is that remodel is complete. So thank you, Trent, and your team. I know we did the retreat. The suites look beautiful. We think that's really going to enhance our ticket sales for the different events that take place at the Reno Event Center. And then also, we're going through the process right now of, I think we're finished with the painting of halls. Are they all done now? One, two?
We'll have.
One more
to finish.
All one to finish painting our halls with the RSCC. So they look beautiful. Again, great job by team and the facility team for getting that done. In terms of items that are in progress, that are new, obviously today you're going to hear about our recommendations as part of the augmentation and the air service fund. We have made the decision with Mr. Markle's retirement to hire 2 positions. One, a director of RSC operations at the REC, which is a really specific responsibility as it relates to knowing the back of the house, front of the house, advancing shows. And then we will hire a slightly lower position in terms of title in the NBS as an operations manager. Both those positions and job descriptions are posted, and we are accepting applications now and going through the interview process. You heard today about tourism economics, which we think is a very valuable tool we're bringing, and then of course the continued engagement and community engagement to support our community members. That concludes our executive update, Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Larragetta. We're going to move right on to item F1, presentation discussion, potential approval of the administration utilization of dedicated air service funds. Mr. Larragetta, do you want to tee it off, and then Christina will come in on this one?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair. Again, Mike Larragetta for the record. First of all, I'd like to thank Darren and Tina for joining us today and following your support and your partnership. And I would like to emphasize a comment that Darren made, that our partnership, including not only the airport and the RSCVA, but also EDON, that we have been working very well together in a cohesive effort to ensure that we are making good decisions as it relates to air service. As I was very fortunate to participate in an event that they had at the airport, and I applaud the airport for hiring Kirk Lavelle of his company. I always forget the name of this company, Meat Hunt. And I had the privilege of traveling with Kirk to Florida to meet with Spirit. This individual is extremely well-versed, competent, and brilliant when it comes to air service and his relationships. Just to sit here and listen to him speak with the executive team with Spirit and ask the right questions and really know what was important and how it relates to what is important to our destination, and in improving the opportunity for us to secure airlift from that carrier, any carrier that he's visiting. He knows everybody. So we're very fortunate to have him on our team. As part of that discussion, one thing that was very eye-opening to me and to the senior leadership team was that in order to be positioned a destination, to be relevant and be prepared as it relates to minimum revenue guarantees and supporting marketing efforts with airlines, is that an organization such as RSCVA, and then obviously RASC, which is Regional Air Service Corporation, needs to have available funds in the range of between $4 and $5 million. And why you need those funds available is whether that is for minimum revenue guarantees or airline support on the marketing side to host FAMs and education. And so as part of our augmentation, you will see today, we're recommending to replenish our air service fund and actually grow it to the amount of $3 million. The item as it relates to F1 today is the airline industry is obviously something you need to be in a position to pivot and be nimble and move very quickly. And so we're asking the board to give the CEO the authority to allocate up to $500,000 for minimum revenue guarantees and also marketing efforts to support airlines on an annual basis. If there was an opportunity of multiple marketing opportunities or multiple minimum revenue guarantees that are presented to us through our partnership with the airport and EDON and the stakeholders, we obviously, and they exceeded that $500,000 on an annual basis, we would come back to the board for approval on that. Now, I know that there's been some questions that are brought up by board members as it relates to ensuring that we're not just letting the CEO run previously in writing, having some checkbook and writing $500,000 checks to particular airlines. So I can assure you that there are checks and balances. Everything will be vetted. There will be discussions with board members through the pre-boards, email, or communication via phone. There will be obviously a lot of consultation with the airport, with our senior staff, with EDON, with stakeholders that are outside of the board, and of course RASC. So it will be well vetted to ensure that we are making strategic decisions with those airline partners whether it is to either enhance an opportunity within an existing market, to go to a new airline on a minimum guarantee, or just support a new carrier or a legacy carrier in a new market on the marketing side.
You covered that.
Did I get it all?
You did.
Get it all?
Anything to add, Christina?
I don't think so. I think Mike did a great job covering it. Just to clarify it, we are hoping for 500,000 for MRG and 500,000 for marketing, not combined, but separate, to be able to go on either of those initiatives.
And that's per year,
Yes.
Correct.
annually.
Yes.
And in our discussions, you talked about probability is probably more on the marketing side, that you're gonna have an ask that's 500 or less, where the MRGs are usually bigger dollars. So as we're looking at giving this authority, something comes up and, you know, one of the airlines has something they want us to jump in on, it's giving the CEO the authority to do that and to do it quickly, because sometimes those offers just, they come up and if we're like in between board meetings, we've got a month until we meet, and we miss some of those opportunities is really the thought behind this. I'll take questions, Mr. Chapman.
Great, thank you. Just a question on the actual contracting. I'm assuming I'm reading this as in the RSCVA would contract directly for the MRGs, and going back a number of years, one of the reasons we shifted from the Regional Marketing Committee to the Regional Air Service Corporation and incorporated there was to do contracting. And the 2 or 3 times we've done MRG contracting is through RASC. And I think we did that on the advice of the council to not have those contracts reside here in the RSCVA. So are we moving forward with actually the RSCVA being the contractor and the responsible party for those? And then the other question that kind of goes along with that, obviously, these are monies related to the RSCVA, but there could be other dollars related to MRG strategies. And how do we contract that? So it's just a question under the contracting to clarify it, or would contracting still happen under RASC? Even though the funding, I don't believe would be going through RASC necessarily when we talk about the augmentation and the next line item.
Yeah, great
Just
question.
if you could touch on that.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Again, Mike Clarietta for the record. The contracting as it relates to MRGs would continue to go through RASC. That is RASC role. There would be no change in that structure in any way as far as the RCVA is concerned. On the marketing side, because of prior board approvals and our ability to go through our agency of record of BBK, that would go through BBK.
Got it. Thank you.
You bet.
Ms. Hill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can this come back to the board as an informational item when the contract is executed?
Boy, that's a very good question. So and help me here, but I think when these opportunities present itself, a lot of times the timelines are very short.
Sure.
In terms of working with RASC and the airport, EDON, et cetera. To the Madam Chair's point, and I know that's an item on the agenda coming up as it relates to our frequency of board meetings. If the board was to approve every other month or not every month, we could be looking at a 60-day window. We could.
No, not for approval, just
Okay.
information.
Oh, sure.
Reporting back.
Oh, I'm
I-
sorry.
I do
I'm
think
sorry.
it's
I
important
misinterpreted your
that,
question.
yeah, we did this at our board for the chair and the manager to execute litigation, but it comes back on our board agenda as information because it's just important to be transparent. So I just was wondering if that is something.
Yeah,
we
oh,
could-
absolutely. You bet. Sorry, I misinterpreted your
Oh,
question.
that's
Sorry.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I think, yeah, absolutely. That would be great. Mr. J.
So we've heard it twice and just make sure everybody fully understands. We have opportunities here. You have to act fast. There might be a month where we don't have a meeting and we can miss out. So we're basically giving the CEO the authority to act in a situation that will benefit us. And then at one point, you'll report back to us saying, this is what you, CEO, whoever, has done, and this is what we secured for it. So it's just giving you a little bit more leverage to go after the business and not being so handcuffed.
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just, for everybody's clarification. Listening.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you, Mr. J, for bringing that up, because I really believe in this board should have monthly meetings. I know that has been something in the past where they want to go to every other, but I just strongly advocate for monthly meetings, so I appreciate that. I'm obviously very supportive of any air service that we can bring in here, so thank you so much for bringing this forward. I do kind of want to piggyback maybe a little bit on, Commissioner Hill's question in the sense, on the oversight piece. And so maybe you can explain a little bit about that only because, we have seen it where I sit on another board and, we gave the deference to spend the money and they went out there and did something, a large purchase, very considerably large purchase, right? And then the headline was in the newspaper, not very favorable about this purchase. And quite honestly, I thought it was not warranted and I thought it made them look bad. And it wasn't a good use of taxpayer dollars. So how will that oversight look? Because what I hate to do, and I'm sure all of us do, we hate to open the paper and see a headline or like, wow, I didn't know we spent that. And so how can sort of we know what you're doing? Because I think that's where the check and the balance comes in.
Right.
Maybe this board felt really strongly and you guys went out there and did something with an airline that we were like, well, why did we do that?
I think a lot of that, Mayor Sheedy, again, Mike better get it for the record, comes down to communication, right? If Tina and her team and the consultant brings a opportunity forward, that would obviously be discussed at multiple levels. That would be discussed within our team, that'd be discussed with RASC, that would be discussed with stakeholders, that would be discussed with this board. What we're trying to do is to be nimble, be able to pivot in a shorter time period. I can assure you that we are not going to make any decisions without communication with this board, whether that be the email, phone call, or pre-boards if the timing works out.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
You bet.
Mr. East?
He just answered my question. My concern has been with the MRGs, much more so than with the marketing agreements. I think that those work with our established carriers more often than not, and you know, to pick up lift in our routes, and that's great. The MRGs, on the other hand, have the potential of going bad more often, and so that is something that, in terms of our fiduciary responsibility, I'd like to see us get involved in. But understanding how we need to remain nimble, I would just appreciate an opportunity, whether it be one-on-ones or whatever, to get whatever board feedback in advance we can, to vet that opportunity and perhaps add some color to what you're thinking.
Absolutely. And we've asked Mr. Lavelle, the consultant, to come and present to this board in February. He's agreed to do that. I think that for those of you that did not get the opportunity to participate in the meeting at the airport, I think will be very eye-opening in terms of really understanding how air service works and what the opportunities are for this market. And to echo Darren's comments earlier, the competitive nature of this industry.
Mr. Murdoch?
Thank you. You know, interesting, another checks and balances, Mike, is the RASC, because RASC has to write the check. So I appreciate that, but you also have another layer for John and Hillary, for everybody, that RASC will vet this pretty hard. Hopefully even before it gets, so we know where we're going. But again, I gotta thank the airport, especially Darren and Tina and the team, the airport team, for all of a sudden after COVID, we stalled and they're rising to the occasion. Everybody is in our region. Everybody's rising to the occasion. I want to thank you all the entities, and great job to get here. And I got to say, Stephen, thank God for, your predecessor, Nat. We went to legislature, and I thank Charlene for allowing Mike to accrue funding. So in other words, you get the airport fund full, and then you get to accrue it if you don't have an opportunity. So therefore, it fills the coffer ready for a strike when we get it. So we'll have the money, and that money can be used for marketing. It can be used, so it's a perfect.
And that's a very good point, and I think it's
Thank
important.
you for that, because it wasn't done before. Now it is, gives us a little more flexibility.
Right, and this will come up to the augmentation, but I just want to make sure that the board also is very clear that if the augmentation is approved and the air service fund is approved at the amount the staff is recommending, that it's always at the board's discretion if we do not use those funds to access those funds for other reasons. Should the roof cave in at the RSCC and Trent says, I need some money to fix that, obviously the board at their discretion can make those decisions to reallocate those monies within the budget.
And Mike, I think it's important that, Courtney may speak to this, but how is the air fund funded? It's funded by everybody. How is it funded?
I'm gonna defer to Courtney on that.
So Lisa, it's funded by room tax revenues and it's also funded by the tourism surcharge, since that's an allowable use of the tourism surcharge. So it's a portion of both.
And the surcharge is all through Reno, right?
So the surcharge, we charge, surcharge is correct on properties in Reno, in downtown, the city collects a $2 surcharge, we collect a $1, and then in the other Reno districts, we collect a $2 surcharge.
And that is for marketing or air service.
Correct, any purposes set forth in our strategic plan, including air service and marketing.
So it's just good to know these facts that everybody knows how the fund gets funded. And it's a big picture. And on top of what RASC is, we all fund RASC individually outside of the taxes and the surcharge. And again, this is so critical that we are one of the few destinations that has these entities to be able to work together to do this. This is spectacular. And tomorrow in Alaska Airlines, first thing we're going to talk about is this. This is the message that Darren and Tina take to Alaska and now Hawaiian Air. But this is what they want to hear. This is shows them that we are loaded for bear. We're ready to go. Heads in beds, butts in seats. Thank you.
Mr. Squaw.
I was gonna give Rick an amen on that. I do though, I won't get into, I feel very comfortable and I think part of it is through the year working with Andy's of the world and Rick's on RASC and RSCVA. I feel very good on the oversight. I do think the communication is gonna be key and these are such big initiatives that I think it will be, I think very transparent. I just wanted to touch on what Rick brought up, that, you know, the intent of this, there's been a lot of heavy lifting. And I know you brought up Nat and other prior board members and staff, but we never fully hit it. We got it in place, but we really kind of struggled fine tuning it and getting it on track. And I feel like this is really it. And Darren and your team, you know, coming out of, the whole industry is so changed coming out of COVID. And I just think we're so poised to really grasp it. The other piece of this that I think is really evolved is the whole eat-on component. And Mike has done a wonderful job, Kazmierski, the handoff to Taylor. I think one of the things that we've all really come to realize is you've got the tourism foundation that's been built for decades. You've got a community that's growing population-wise. And again, this is a quality of life. Let's not forget, it's great from a tourism and business standpoint, but it's a quality of life for the community. And then you have that business layer of what Edon is developing. And I just think we've got somewhat of a perfect storm lining up, and to have the funds allocated like this, the nimbleness, and then I think that rollover in the fund is really going to be a critical tool for us. So thank you. And if you're looking for a motion.
I'm looking for a motion.
Yeah, sure. If I can.
Do I have more comments? Okay, let's
Just to
try to move
reiterate,
quick.
the oversight, this board's appointee to the airport board is Carol Chaplin. She's the current chair. She just got elected as the chair of the RASC group as well. So there's gonna be this alignment there as well, you know, pulling up from here through the airport and RASC. So I think that's all very positive.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll move motion to approve as presented.
Okay,
I'll second that. Just
I have a motion by Mr. Chapman, a second by Mr. J. Comments?
quick question. And it's not a spend or lose it scenario. If we don't spend it all, we can carry it into the next year, carry it over, and theoretically, we don't spend it all, we end up having a nice little war chest here when we need it, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Other discussion, Mayor Sheedy?
Yeah, just really quickly. And then also the economic development piece, I think back to Stephen's comments, especially like you were saying, hitting it regionally. That's kind of one of the reasons why I was thinking about with that study, because I think a lot of pieces are now coming together and working, and so it sort of pushes this funnel. And then last but not least, and I'm trying to think, and Richard, you should know this off the top of your head. Whenever I did my stay of the city at the airport, the economic impact of one flight.
Oh, 18,000 up there, 18,000. We just had that number represented to us. 83,000.
128,000.
But it breaks it down to like spend and jobs and like you
Absolutely.
can literally, get that data that just pinpoints it, but it's massive economic impact. So thank you, Darren, I appreciate it.
Well-
But I think people forget the economic impact,
And that's
really what it's doing,
one of
not
the-
just
yeah.
in gaming, but all throughout the city.
Yeah, the multiplier is huge. And we just had a presentation by EK just showing all that. But planes are getting bigger. And that's one of the reasons that the airport, we have to expand. Because the planes that, when we built the original terminals were
Yeah.
120, now they're 200 plus.
Yeah.
So you're cramming that many people in there, bigger planes, and of course it's gonna be tight. So that's the reason there. But you're right, the economic multiplier is huge. And our economic impact just got
I think we
increased
forget.
dramatically.
Yeah.
Just a little under $4 billion. And our construction impact is gonna be well over $1 billion. Single largest project in northern Nevada, in the history of northern Nevada. No other project has approached $1 billion. Maybe the GSR, maybe that one, but that's down the road.
Good job.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on. Moving on to item F2, budget augmentation. And Courtney is already ready to roll it there, so I'm gonna hand it off to you. Thank you.
Good morning, Courtney Jager, Vice President of Finance. The purpose of this agenda item is to review the details of a proposed budget augmentation. So this budget augmentation was presented to and approved by the Finance and Facilities Committee on November 28th. The committee serves in an advisory capacity, and the budget augmentation will not be effective until approved by the full board today. So today's presentation will be structured as follows. We'll review the revenues and resources that will fund this budget augmentation, and then we'll review in detail the proposed expenses in the budget augmentation by category. And I'll go ahead and move through this at a good pace, but feel free to stop me anytime with questions. So our budget augmentation today is slightly over $8.9 million. This augmentation is funded by revenues that have exceeded budget during the last 2 quarters. Here we have a summary of Q4 fiscal year 23 revenues and Q1 fiscal year 24 revenues compared to budget. In total, for those 2 quarters, revenues were over $9 million in excess of budget, with the remainder of what we're requesting. And actually, sorry, these were $9 million in excess of budget. We did have a small amount also of expenses that were under budget in the prior fiscal year. So as you can see, the increases in total taxable revenues were largely driven by higher occupancy, in addition to slight increases in ADR. And as we mentioned earlier, September 2023 was the highest month of taxable room revenue on record. That was also driven by occupancy and heavily influenced by the air races. For the previous several quarters, we've seen these increases in taxable room revenues being driven by the average daily rate. So it's kind of interesting to see that occupied rooms are now a higher driver. Here we have Q1 room tax statistics by market segment. Hotels and vacation rentals made up the majority of the taxable room revenue increases, driven heavily by occupancy. Vacation rentals actually had an increase in their average daily room rates. So here we have a comparison of taxable room revenues by tax district. Trends have stayed pretty consistent from year to year, but we are seeing consistent decreases in Washoe Beach, and we're seeing slight increases in downtown.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Madam Chair? So it shows that both downtown April through June contributed, and then July through September, the outside group, suburban contributed. So what an effort on all fronts that we both have matching dollar amounts coming from both the zones.
Absolutely, yeah, for both quarters, for Q4, we saw a downtown increase, for Q1, we saw Reno B and downtown increase, so yeah, it's gonna increase on both.
And then you look at everything else is pretty flat. Is that what it's?
Overall, pretty flat. We are seeing a trend of decreases in Washoe B. So in Q4, Washoe B went from about 12% of the total to 10%. And then we saw in Q1, Washoe B went from 17% to 16%. So we are seeing consistent decreases from quarter to quarter.
Great, thank
And the
you.
rest have remained fairly flat.
Thank you. An effort, it's all of us.
Right, so we talked about revenues and resources. So now we're going to talk about how we're proposing to spend those funds. The majority of this budget augmentation is composed of capital and marketing. We'll go into that in more detail. The majority of the capital portion of the budget augmentation is allocated to the fiscal year 25 indoor track payments. So essentially, we'll hold back those funds and use them towards the fiscal year 25 track. This eliminates the need to make reductions in other areas of the fiscal year 25 budget. So next, we're proposing to add over $1.3 million to the fiscal year 24 capital budget. This replenishes the capital budget for the amounts that we cut to accommodate the fiscal year 24 track payments. And Trent's going to go in a little more detail about each of the projects.
So on the augmentation, what we had proposed to put some of the monies back in from the track into our capital. So we're going to be looking at adding $470,000 to the paving at Livestock Event Center on that north block that's pretty chewed up. Cam locks, if you're not familiar with that, that's an easy way to hook up shore power for concerts and events at the convention center. And we don't have that capability. It's all hardwired. And please stop me if there's questions. On the hot water boiler, we're adding a $250,000 to that to actually replace the system, and this is over at the convention center. The Band-Aids are not working anymore. Cooling tower number 3, same idea, that's to replace that tower, and that is critical to our chiller system for cooling in the summer. The stucco replacement is up on the roof where we had a lot of damage from this last year. And we want to, where we're replacing the roofs in those areas, we're also going to touch up the stucco that is on the side of it. And then new chain motors, those are smaller chain motors for doing the setups, lighting trusses, etc. in the smaller rooms, in the ballroom that we don't currently have that capability. And it will allow us to use our own equipment instead of trying to rent out to outside companies.
Right, go ahead and move on.
Madam Chair, a question, that's sorry.
Mr. Obersar.
Thank you. Trent, so in terms of the convention center needs, are these listed in terms of priorities that you've been looking at from maintenance and,
Yes,
even
and-
our top 5?
Well, these are just the augmentations. We've got a larger list, and this is putting money back into some of the areas we pulled it in order to do the track.
Okay.
And because of the augmentation, we don't have to do that.
Oh, great, okay.
And Madam Chair, if I may.
Mr. Murdock.
You have a plan like to get that track and make it work for everybody, right? And you, as far as the groups and things you're gonna book in that thing can go anywhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Could it be in could it be in the REC? Can it be out here?
No.
Can it-
So yeah, Michael, I got it for the record. So the track, because of the side being a 200-meter
Yeah.
indoor track, was specifically designed to go into Hall 4. It is a portable track, obviously, that we have the ability to disassemble and reassemble it, and that's why the track season taking place between November 15th and March 15th allows us to free up that hall for the other 8 months of the year for other business.
One other final question. We bought the telescopic bleachers. They can be
1,200,
used for more than the track, correct?
yes, that's correct. 1,200 seats,
For a
portable
concert
bleachers,
or-
concerts, boxing, any form of entertainment.
So this is a
competitions, gymnastics, dance, whatever it may
And are
be.
they portable?
They are, and we actually have requested from the company that's generating the Hussie, thank you, of delivering the bleachers as early as possible.
And you can use them in any building that we own.
We can, transporting them is a challenge because of
But
the
you
size,
can't, you
but,
have big enough of it.
but we do have the ability to move them. We do have the ability, they're on rollers, to move them within the center itself to a different hall. Yes, and they actually, Trent, quote me on this, but I believe when you
retract.
Retract them, they're 4 to 5 feet from the wall?
Yeah,
Total?
yeah, they'll be approximately 6 feet with the rails.
Yeah, 6 feet from the wall,
We can
so,
tuck them in closely.
So you can use them downtown if we needed an event, yeah. I don't know, I'm trying to make this universal.
yes, it would be an effort to transport them, but we can, yes, the answer is yes.
There's no more questions for Trent, we'll move on. So next is the marketing portion of the budget augmentation. $2.2 million is going towards air service, like we just discussed. So this will bring available air service funds to $3 million. We previously set air service funding at a maximum of $1.5 million through the board's strategic funding policies. So this is a change. We're also making a change to roll the amounts forward. So on the previous agenda, I think the CEO to spend up to $1 million from the air service fund this year. So if those amounts were spent, we'd be looking at $2 million at year end, and then at the budget cycle, deciding what to add to get to grow that fund. So next is $500,000 for the special event opportunity fund. You might remember that we used the special event opportunity fund towards the fiscal year 24 track payments. So now we're replenishing that opportunity fund. So next is $500,000 for services with BBK, our agency of record. The majority of this is going towards a brand photo shoot with $200,000 for additional services. That detail is in your packets, but Christina can answer any questions if there are.
Mr. Murrow.
I'm sorry, on the last slide, can you go back one slide? On the 500,000, what's in there now?
Zero. So we wiped it out to make the fiscal year 24 tax payment. So this would replenish the fund. And for the board strategic funding policies, we can go up to 500,000 for that.
So on that special event fund, how are you guys looking at opportunity? We still have the same committee in place and how this works or how that works?
So again, Mike Largetta for the record. So we are in the final stages of making an offer to an individual to hire the director of special development. When that position is in play, they will have the responsibility of researching, identifying new events, whether they are in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities. They could be in multiple areas. They could be food and beverage, they could be arts, and culture, they could be music festivals, they could be sporting events. So we will travel the globe, the entire United States, looking for these opportunities. Once we find an event that fits based on demographic, based on time of year, based on parameters and being able to be located somewhere within our city, we will bring that to the city. We will then let the hotel producer of that event meet with the hotels and determine what is the best fit for their event and location.
When you say city, you mean all our region as far as.
North, south, downtown, Sparks, wherever it may be.
Thank you.
And then ultimately that would come back to the special, the opportunity fund, which is separate from special events. So we do have that, opportunity fund falls under that special committee. So it would come back to that committee before it was, decided that we would fund that. Go ahead, Courtney.
So if there are any questions on the services with BBK, Christina can answer those, or I can move on to the next slide.
Christina, could you, I know the brand photo shoot, you've been pretty specific on. For 200,000 for the other services, so we spend a lot of money, but we should, on marketing and through BBK, another 200,000. Can you give me a reason why we need to allocate that today?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really because of all the opportunities that are on the table. One is we're redesigning our website, and with that comes a lot of creative design and implementation. So they're working extremely closely with our website agency of record to come and design templates across the website. We're completely redesigning that website to come up with all of those additional designs for all the landing pages and integrate it into our brand. Costs money. We're also working with them on building out a more robust data center. And as we're looking at moving forward with tourism economic, BBK, their agency of record. So they're going to take all of this data and information from across our media buys to make more impactful media decisions. They're working with our PR agency. They're working with our web agency and the Google Analytics. So we're going to really look to BBK to really help us with those efforts, since this is a big significant lift. We're also looking at, as we develop this no limits campaign, those also take additional time and effort and creative layouts and integrating it into PowerPoints, into other ad hoc ads. I mean, it all adds up. So when you think about all of those initiatives falling into this, it's minimal, but when you add it all together, it does add up to that amount.
Okay, and that's in addition to what we've already contracted BDK services that we have approved for
Correct.
the year.
And BVK hasn't increased their prices with us in 7 years as well. So, so all of these added initiatives, I feel like it's fair to compensate for them all this extra effort that we're asking them to hopefully do for us with all these opportunities coming in.
Thank you for the clarification. That's all. Mr. Murdock?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you're giving Symphony 99,000. How does the two, I mean, is there an overlap here? Is Symphony gonna give you guidance for them? I'm trying to understand. We got a lot of money in BDK, a lot of money. So how do you separate them? Why can't they do you know what I'm saying?
Yep, so BVK would not be developing the platform or the formulas that go into the Symphony platform. They will be helping us gather our data and then executing on those decisions. So as we're asking about, okay, Symphony says Visa is a #1 credit card, BVK will be the one kind of helping to then execute that and do additional targeting and layering within our media buys.
No more money though. If we gave them Visa, they would do it under this contract, right? They wouldn't have to spend any more money.
Tourism economics is inclusive of that credit card spending data.
In other words, if you get Visa, you're understanding that. If Visa becomes a project for us,
Yep,
BDK won't charge us any more money to do the project for Visa. Because you got it from Symphony, you brought it to them, right? They're included.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're inclusive in the 500,000 that you're asking.
correct, yes. And then the 300,000, just for clarification for the board, that's not BVK's fee for a photo shoot. That includes photographers, videographers, wardrobe, makeup, hair, lighting, safety, crews, talents. It is the production, the director. I mean, it's everyone that goes into a photo shoot. And as we kind of just talked about, video being so important. We haven't done a photo shoot in a couple years. The last one we did was in 2021, and we spend a lot of time and effort into these photo shoots. Unfortunately, when we planned it in 2021, it was in August, which we had our significant smoke throughout our entire region, and we did our best in getting creative with angles, but we all know that our beauty of our destination, our big blue skies are what really sell this destination. So prior to that, we hadn't done a photo shoot prior to COVID. So it's really time to update some of our photo and video assets.
And Christina, you've also said that the photo shoot is incorporating a lot of local companies, local businesses, local talent. So really.
Yep. BVK's
That's
established
important.
great relationships with our local videographers and all the crew that I just mentioned. And so a lot of that will go back into our community here locally of those funds.
Okay.
So the remainder of the application for marketing, 99,000 for the economics, that's an annual fee, so this is just for the fiscal year 24 payment. And then $12,000 for the top fund sponsorship in relation to billboards, that program. So next is for facilities. Q1 revenues for the facilities exceeded budget by 61%. The increase in revenues were driven by more events than anticipated. So when the sales and events team builds their budget during budget season, that's based off actual and expected events at the time. And there were more events in the venues than anticipated, which is great. And it's great you can bring in more business, led to higher revenue, but servicing those additional events leads to higher costs for areas like personnel, security, utilities, and supplies. So we aren't increasing the loss figure previously approved by the board. We are just replenishing amounts spent in Q1 with a small cushion for future months.
How much in dollars did Q1 revenues exceed budget?
Let me pull that up for you real quick. We can actually just go back to that.
It's more than 821,000.
I know, it's exactly 821, sorry. Yeah, so
So we're gonna spend everything that we, because revenue Right, it's not, doesn't necessarily see profit, that is a profit center, isn't it, that we will go to, right?
Correct. So we set a loss figure at the beginning of the year, and we still anticipate that our loss will be roughly around that amount. Right now, we're trending slightly under. So we spent in Q1 a little less than what the revenues were that we brought in additionally, but we do want to put that entire amount back into the facilities because if we keep trending that way and bringing in additional business, we know it's going to cost us more.
Okay.
The remainder of the budget augmentation is for the safety budget. This year, we hired a dedicated safety manager, and he's been working on initiatives and programs related to safety. He presented his budget proposal to Mike and I, and we decided to move forward with the initiatives that you see on the screen and in the packet. The biggest initiatives are related to training and equipment and new programs related to safety, glasses, food allowances, things like that put us on par with industry standards. If there's any questions related to this, our Director of Facility Operations, Jose Martinez, will answer questions. Great, and then just a little bit of additional information. For October, we saw the largest year-over-year decrease in taxable room revenues in over 2 years. So we talked to our hotel partners, performed a bit of research and analysis. We did decide to lower Q2 revenue predictions in total. And related to this, we have factored this into the spending in this budget augmentation, and we don't know if there is enough of a trend yet to reduce our predictions for Q3 and Q4, but we did feel it was good to be conservative for Q2 in this spending proposal. You know, for any questions.
Do I have any questions for Christina? Mr. Murdoch, do you have a question?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, I would like Mr. Squawka, as chair of the finance subcommittee, to just report on what our subcommittee found in analyzing the augmentation.
Mainly just open it up for, questions or concerns.
It's on you, Stephen.
I come to throw darts. I feel like our board member Murdoch and Mr. J and Chairwoman Bybee, we did vet through this, so I feel a little more, I've already gone through it with, it's similar to the air service piece. Touronomics, a lot of that we've already kind of had a chance to rehash and vet. But any questions, great job, Courtney, on really preparing this. I think highlighting, also touching on October is not necessarily a trend, but something to put on everybody's radar. It's reality, right? That we've had a great run. This is a nice problem to have, to be augmenting it with that kind of a surplus. But I think to be able to, Mike, your recommendation and guidance to let's get the track discussion put to bed, and we are not having to carry it into future fiscal years is a great way to go. And then I agree. I think a lot of the work, what you're looking at with BDK, getting that creative updated and fresh, I think is really, I think we as a finance and facility committee felt very good with the direction we're going. Definitely up for discussion and tweaks, and if you want to massage certain numbers, but I think for the most part, we felt really good about it. So leave it at that.
Very comfortable.
Mr. Chapman.
Thank you, Chair. And this item, we've had some discussions internally about this, and as the board recalls, last year, in September, I came in front of the board and requested some support through that augmentation at that time for the TART Connect program up in what's called Zone 3, which is the Washoe Tahoe portion. TART Connect, and I do have a sheet that I'd like to just pass out, and I don't know if I have enough for the entire table, but I will pass this around. It's just over, I shared this with Charlene and Mike as well. But obviously, we have seen some significant increases in traffic and volumes to the Tahoe Basin. And I want to point out that Ben McDonald was at our first reconstituted Lake Tahoe Destination Stewardship Council meeting yesterday. Spent a good part of the day up there with the 17 folks around the table, really looking at how are we going to implement the Lake Tahoe Stewardship Destination Plan, and I appreciate this board's play in that as well. So we are looking at obviously an increase in that service that we did this year. Historically, we've done about 14 hours a day in the summertime and the wintertime, high seasons, and 4 hours a day in the spring and fall. We've increased that spring and fall session to about 16 hours a day as well. To date, just to touch on some numbers, just so you get a feel of the success of this program, this is just in Washoe Beach. The total ridership in North Shore has been about 775,000 rides from the initial June 30th of 2021 through the end of November. Of that, there's been about 250,000 rides, about 40% of those rides happen in Zone 3. So pretty similar numbers that I had presented last year as well. I do want to kind of point out on the funding side, the Regional Transportation Commission came up with 350,000 of additional funds this year. And Washoe County Commission approved 400,000 as well. And you can see on what I passed out where we've been in the last couple of years. So I understand that this item obviously is not agendized, but I would like an opportunity to potentially come back to the board maybe in February to discuss this. For Tahoe, it is a very important project. We do have to keep people out of their cars. And as we get more air service coming in, as we get more people coming in, transportation right behind housing is the #1 issue that we have in Lake Tahoe. There is a couple, I just put a couple graphs in there. This is July that kind of shows you the amount of daily ridership we are seeing and passengers, as well as how it spreads across the day part there. So again, very important. And I know Ben was exposed to more of this again yesterday. And how are we going to deal with the issues that we have up in Tahoe? Obviously, the traffic is not going away, so we do have to figure out how we're dealing with that amongst other things. So just want to toss that out there maybe for a future discussion that we can come back and maybe talk about this potentially in the February board meeting.
Sure. So as Mr. Chapman said, we're not agendized today to take action on the CART funding. I think this is just an informational item as part of this augmentation, and then we can approve the augmentation today if it's what the board wants to do as presented. And then we can come back at a future meeting with this request and decide whether that's through a future budget augmentation or reallocation of funds as part of this allocation, if the board decides they want to fund the CART request.
Commissioner Hill, do you have anything to add?
Well, this is the biggest amount that Washoe County has put towards this program, $400,000 from our ARPA dollars. I hope it's something we can continue to support. And the big goal with this program is that we will be able to reduce the cost by going out to bid and getting federal funds for it. Sadly, Placer was not in a position to do that this cycle. Do you know Jamie's gonna do it next cycle?
Yes.
So next cycle, hopefully federal funds will be picking up most of this. I also would like to see long-term riders pay money. I know that we have probably differing opinions about this, but it's a high income earner that's taking this ride, and what I'm learning from transportation, should we be subsidizing that to the amount that we are? So there's a lot of changes in this program, but it's a lift that we're asking for from the community to help us support. And I'm very proud of on the Washoe County side to support the program, so.
It looks to me like
Mr. Beast.
it looks to me like the funding that is confirmed already approximates where we were this last year with the RSCVA commitment. So the additional potentially $350,000, what's that gonna go towards? Where have we seen? Yeah.
So as I mentioned, we increased service hours. So in the first 2 years of the pilot program, the summer season and the winter season were 16 hours a day. But the fall and the spring seasons were only 4 hours a night, so from 6 to 10, and then we increased it to midnight based on the entertainment value of Crystal Bay and getting people around. So we've now increased year round to 14 hours a day and then 16 hours on the weekend. So that fall and spring cost to supply the service increase, and that's the difference that we saw.
And we think ridership supports that?
It does, and we just, as of Friday, we'll close out the fall season, and ridership has been phenomenal. Now, one thing we do want to do is we need more, the intent is a higher ratio, a larger ratio of visitors using it. It's about a 75% residential, which actually using tourism dollars to support a residential project is very good from the standpoint of what we need to do in Incline and in Lake Tahoe as a whole. But we are seeing more usage by the visitors. Again, this is one zone within the full North Shore zone. There's 6 zones that go all the way to Truckee and Palisades and North Star and West Shore. And again, we have the highest ridership as a percentage in any individual zone as a percent of the total. But thank you for that question.
So, this was informational. My attorney just advised me that we shouldn't go down the road any deeper, that we will come back in February, with more information and actual presentation and an ask at that time, and then see where budget-wise, if we decide to do it, where we would accommodate it. So, right now, any other questions on the augmentation, on the specific asks of the augmentation? If not, I'm looking for a motion. Mr. J.
Thank you. Move to accept the motion as presented.
Okay,
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. J, a second by Mayor Sheedy. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Courtney. Moving on to. I have on my just be. Okay. Moving on to item F3, appointment to the Sparks Tourism Facility and Revitalization Steering Committee. This is a Sparks committee. However, I discovered, because we haven't had openings on this, that per NRS, the approval of members to this come from the RSCVA board. It's not an RSCVA board function, but it's by statute falling under the Tourism Hotel Tax Act of 1999, that they incorporated this committee because what it does is it, people who represent, it works with a master plan on tourism, room tax dollars in Victorian Square is the purpose of this. So we had 2 openings, one opening, Charles had been in the open spot of anyone who represented the interests of Reno, Sparks, Washoe County, hotel or motel, and that was Charles' spot. We also had Channing Keel on it, representing an NRA property outside of Sparks. We have an NRA property inside Sparks, which is Max Servants, because we only have one NRA property. So these 2 positions, I'm bringing these 2 names. We don't have to have 2 names. It didn't have to come from NRA, although I did speak with Virginia to see if she had recommendations. So the recommendations I'm bringing today, and actually Art helped me. I wanted to reach out to the hotel motel because they're accounting for so much of our room tax dollars. And so he brought me, Mr. Len Morazzo with Sam Piper. And as it would happen, they are opening the new extended stay right by the Sparks Marina over by our All Abilities Park. So he's going to be a great representative there. And then the second would be Mr. Jeff Bauer, who is the new assistant general manager of Grand Sierra, because they butt right up to Sparks. Their interest for Sparks and caring about Victorian Square was really kind of the reasoning behind that. So I am looking for possible action to simply approve these 2 names. Move to approve. Thank you.
Second.
Move to approve by Mayor Sheedy, second by Mr. Abelsar. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Oh, thank you. I have the mic back. Well, my voice is totally gone. Moving on to item F4, approval of the 2024 board meeting schedule. Mr. Kennedy asked me to revisit, reminding me that last year when we approved the every meeting every month, it was last January, and it was for a 6-month period, which expired in June. And then the rest of the calendar year stayed as we planned, although I did add the board retreat to October. So what we need to do officially is to come back and consider if we want to keep monthly meetings Do we want to go back to every other month? Which personally, for me, I think that every other month is a tough one because we've got so much going on. But we also have the option of going monthly, or do we want to go 10 months, 9 or 10 months? In talking to staff, especially Courtney, with fiscal deadlines, we have to meet in May. For budget, we have to meet in July because of new board members. And then November, December is also budget if we have an augmentation. So we have a few months we have to meet, but outside of that, we combine November, December, and then I was looking at hoping to have maybe one summer month, maybe August, that we don't meet. So that was one proposal I was thinking of. If we did meet in August and we combine November, December, would give us 10 meetings. Or I'm open to every other month, opening for discussion, Mr. Squaga.
And I agree, I think we've all kind of come to the conclusion, we need to meet more regularly than every other month. In the first, I was open to kind of experiment with it last round, but I think it warrants that. The only thing I was gonna throw out, I like your schedule, I do notice October is not there.
It wasn't this year.
Was that?
Yeah, it wasn't this year. We did
Okay.
the retreat.
Okay, but I think something like this, I would be good with, I'd even say, accept this and maybe August is an asterisk. And if we're a month or two out and we feel that we don't need it, that'd be great we're all, our businesses rolling at that time. I think everybody's personal schedules are, but maybe you just asterisk it, and if we don't need it, we'll let it go.
I'm fine with adding October too.
Yeah, and we did wind up adding October this year, sorry. We did add October, so really I was looking at maybe not August and the November, December being combined. That would still give us 10 meetings, so.
How about if we added October and we left the
Mhm.
schedule as is, and then we can make a decision based on the slate of items that you may have in August. We can bring it up and talk about it in either July's meeting or something like that. Is that possible?
Well, and we can always, when we schedule a meeting, I can either call a special meeting or we can cancel too. If we see that we don't have the business. But sometimes we have things that are time sensitive too. So that's kind of the reason being able to meet monthly, and calling special meetings is hard. All of our schedules are crazy. So really to add a special meeting, I like to stay away from. I'd rather have it scheduled because our calendars are hard to say, oh, we'll only meet these months and then maybe the others. I think something more firm. Mr. J.
I'd rather see a 10-month calendar. We've got so much going on. I think I agree with you. It's gonna be easier to cancel than trying to add on because we have so much going on. August is a pretty busy month with everything going on in our community. So I'd rather see a 10-month with the saying, okay, if we need to cancel, we can. So I support a 10-month.
Okay, which months are you looking at? Not
Well,
November, December's combined.
yeah, kind of leave that, I don't know, but I think we need the August, I can go back, way on
I
that.
was just looking for summer, and I don't know if June, if June is better than July, we've got to meet. So I was looking for a summer month just for people going on vacation, for families, for that summer break. I mean, we don't have to, but June or August as a summer possible break.
June.
But you think June?
Well, August, I just me
Okay.
personally,
Okay.
with so much going on in our community, with, auto lines, burning that, and everything else.
Mr. Avocen, did you have a comment?
I would just, I think it's easier to cancel if
Mhm.
there's
Yeah.
nothing coming up on the
Yeah.
agenda. So I would just make it easy,
Yeah.
have them all calendared,
Yeah.
and then give you the right to talk to us and cancel a meeting if our agenda is not
Okay.
robust. Second.
Okay, we can do that with the understanding that November, December are combined because of Thanksgiving. We've never been able to meet that last Thursday, and so combining too early the first week of December has worked for combining those two meetings.
Well, I think that looks good in here. We can just add October and then cancel anything that we can.
Madam Chair, how about I move to adopt monthly meetings with the combined November, October, and the ability to cancel.
Yeah.
November, December.
So I'll second.
Okay.
Gretchen,
Mhm.
quick.
Motion by Mr. Abelsar, second by Mayor Shivy. Discussion?
Yeah, really quickly. The other thing that we need to look at, because it happened over and over again, so I want to just put it on everyone's radar to make sure that doesn't happen. The airport, there were several times that board meetings were scheduled in conjunction to the airport meeting. So that has to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Second Thursday of every month.
Yes, it was a conflict, so that's important. And then the other one, like today, I'm supposed to be at city council. So Wednesdays, and I think you're in, I know Commissioner, you're in Tuesday. So can we just please make sure that we're not, and if anyone else has anything that they have to be at, so just let us know.
Yeah, and we've had a few of the airport conflicts, so trying to avoid that is important. Mr. Kennedy?
Yes, I think those conflicts come up when we try to schedule special meetings. So our board policies say, I believe the RSCVA meetings are the first Thursday of every month.
Okay, so we'll keep it that.
So we're talking about monthly meetings, that's what we'll set up
Okay,
for.
good, yeah.
And then, except November, December.
Any other discussion? I do have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Board member announcements, reports, and updates. I know you have one from the airport for us.
Well,
James.
yeah, thanks very much. 2 items I want to discuss. Just update on the airport, the ticketing calendar is looking great. We toured it a couple weeks ago. Slated to be open first part of March. It's looking fantastic. What's so cool about it is that the lighting for it is natural lighting. So it's gonna be fantastic. Yeah, looking forward to that. Just moving forward with all of our projects, contract solution looking great. Everything is just moving fast. We're gonna go from 0 debt to the most debt we've ever had very soon. Derek's gonna be getting the credit card out. I don't know if he's gonna be able to get extra, airline mileage for that, but we're getting ready to spend some money out there. So that's about it on the airport. I would like to have put on the agenda for our next meeting in February, something that's very close to my heart, and that is promoting local businesses. I know we've discussed it in the past, and we always say we want to support local businesses, but about 2 years ago at the airport, we actually adopted a formal policy of doing as much business locally as we can, business to business. We're a big entity out here. We have a lot of things, office supplies, lighting, maintenance, things like that. And I know that some of these items will not be able to be done locally, and that's okay. But I would like to have, whether it's a guideline, a resolution, something in there. It's part of our airport, it's part of Darren's matrix every year for supporting that local business. I will bring a lot of information from the airport as to how we did it. But I think also, Christina and I have talked about this, I think this would be an excellent PR piece for us here, because we want to come out with a statement that says, we support local businesses. We want to do business with those locally owned, minority owned, women owned, things like that. And that's what I think this board can really move forward with, and RSCVA can really launch it. And I'm looking for it to kind of expand. I'd like the city of Reno, city of Sparks, Washoe County to do the same thing, to say, local businesses owners, we support you, we're here for you. And it's just very passionate. It's like Operation Santa Claus this Saturday, to remind you about it. That's very passionate to my heart. So I'd like to have that put on the agenda item. I will come up with a bunch of material for us to review and discuss and take possible action.
Okay, and I guess I would ask Mr. Larragetta or Mr. Kennedy, do we currently have a policy prioritizing? Look, I know, Christina, you try to work mostly with local. Do we have an official policy or no?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
In some of our RFPs, we indicate proximity to the Reno Tahoe region takes priority. So if you live here, you're very close, obviously. And so that is something that we put into our RFPs, but I don't believe it's an official RSCVA policy.
Mr. Kennedy?
And so no, the RSCVA hasn't adopted a policy. I believe NRS, depending on what type of project it is, there are certain local preferences that we're required to give, which is what we do when we bid those projects out. But I don't know that we've ever adopted any type of internal policy for awards that those preferences aren't required, that we include them. I don't think we have.
And I think, in February, we could consider it, and whether it's a policy that, is not mandated, but gives us, ask us to prioritize, I think gives you a little more flexibility. Like you said, not everything we'll be able to get here. Ms. Hill?
Thank you. Do you have something? Okay, I wanted to thank you for the board retreat. I thought it was great. And I'm looking forward to doing another one next year. And I think we brought this up at the retreat, or maybe it was at our executive committee, I forgot, but bringing goals that the board can discuss during the meeting, like real meat of what we do, and, you know, can give input and kind of get engaged into the goals of the RSCVA. If we could do that on our schedule quarterly, or I'm not sure how the staff would want to do that, but, you know, making sure that we know what the goals are and we also know how, you know, we can give input to them. So, thank you very much.
Okay, and actually that has been, maybe some meetings, not so much. We've really asked staff through the year to address our strategic plan and to talk about within our goals of the strategic plan, what is, you know, what is marketing doing? What is sales doing?
But
What are facilities?
Sure, and I think it's great for me as a new board member to have a presentation. I'm glad to be educated as to what the staff are doing, but I think it's also, the board needs to, I think, do some dive into those issues as well.
Well, and sometimes you do a strategic plan and then it sits in a binder.
Yeah, I
And
don't
we
want.
forget, we forget what we even passed, and to help guide us, I agree, absolutely. So we will look at that. Mr. Abelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I haven't had a chance to sort of give an update. I had the opportunity to participate in in-market event with RSCVA in Kansas City, and I was just absolutely floored by how impressive our team put forth. Like, it was just such a phenomenal event with so many opportunities wanting to come to Reno. They all gathered together. I think there's over 15 or 16 unique vendor or event opportunities that we can bring to this region. I was tasked to talk with the Water Park Association guy, and so I hung out with him the whole time. And apparently he's coming, so once he gets here, we're gonna try to get together. And then I connected with the Holistic Nurses Association of America, which also wants to come. Really neat, really amazing, creative groups that are looking for places to hold their conventions. And I just want to applaud Mike, his team, Tracy, Aaron. They did such a phenomenal job. I mean, it really was, I think, top notch, top quality. It shows why we just excel in really bringing these groups here. I don't know how anyone says no after experiencing it, frankly. So thank you all, and encourage everyone who has had a chance. Those events are so neat, such great opportunities. I'm going to try to attend more as a board member and see how I can bring support. I also want to just thank you. The retreat was phenomenal. Angie Taylor did an amazing job. It was great. And hopefully we can do it again when we get a CEO, executive director that can bond us all together as a team. So I appreciate all of that. Thank you.
And it wasn't just a trip to Kansas City, you went to a Chiefs game.
Well, twist my arm. Twist my arm.
Did you say Taylor?
You know,
That's the biggest question.
I had better seats than Miss Sweat.
Yes.
Really quickly, first of all, I am so glad, Eddie, that you went. And I think your kids would be very happy that you are connecting with the Water Park Association. So, but I'm really glad that you went, because we haven't done that in so long. But I went, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. And it's a really great way for the board to see firsthand kind of like how we are perceived outside of the bubble that we all live in every day. And it's been a long time since we've done that. So like, kudos to you guys. And I would just say, if there's opportunities for board members to go and do that, because it really, makes you proud, but it also makes you realize what people think of us on the outside. And then also those relationships are really also what sell, like we always talk about the people. So thank you for doing that, because I asked, previously a while back, if we could start getting those invitations to board members to really see what happens. And for some reason, when a board member goes, it really closes the deal. It kind of sends a whole different message that we're just really committed and care about, and we're present. So thank you so much. That's super cool. Glad you did it.
Okay, I'm gonna give final update, it looks like. Update on our January meeting and on our CEO search. And I will let Molly jump in if she wants to add anything to what Molly and I have been on the phone every other week with Tina and with our partners on the progress of the search. Currently, we have 8 candidates, and every week she comes back and it's 7 or 8, but it's not the same 8. So some are getting vetted out, some are being added in. They've touched 145 people through their search. And so they're working hard, feel really good about their progress. What the plan is right now, January 25th board meeting will be solely dedicated to the whole process of choosing our next CEO. As far as other board business, the only thing I know right now, I'm putting on that agenda, we've got to vote for a member to replace Mr. Chapman, who was turned out at the end of January. So we do have to approve that so that we have a member coming on from your jurisdiction. So January 25th board meeting is a 9 a.m. board meeting, Thursday. But before that, we will have the day before, the morning before, we're going to have a meet and greet with 2 separate sessions, one with stakeholders, and I'm going to invite a lot of us. We have a list of stakeholders Mira has of whom we invited initially, and especially those who showed up 2 months ago to give us input of what they were looking for in our CEO. Would like them to come back and meet the finalists. We are looking right now at 3 finalists. Is the number that Tina thinks we were talking 2 or 3, and she said the other day, it looks like probably the best number is going to be 3. So 3 finalists coming in, getting to meet in a meet and greet that morning with stakeholders, and a separate meet and greet with senior staff. At those, Tina will have cards, evaluation scorecards, so that we will get additional input from the stakeholders and from our staff of how they score those 3 people. And then Tina will provide those numbers to us so that we have them. We will have the full bio and background information on every candidate. Those names will become public January 17th, so a week before our board meeting, we will have the names of our 3 finalists. In addition, I've asked for, Mira's going to try to schedule this, but one-on-one time, because I've got my 2 lawyers telling me about all the open meeting violations and us not being together to meet these finalists. We want to schedule one-on-one 30-minute sessions with each finalist. So if we schedule, say, Richard to come in, he would rotate and would probably do it here, 3 different rooms, and meet 30 minutes with candidate 1, 30 minutes with the next one, 30 minutes with the other one. And so asking the board members to, and Mira will work with your calendars, but we're looking for that Tuesday, the 23rd, and Wednesday, the 24th in the afternoon to schedule a time slot where you can come in and meet the 3 and get your own one-on-one feeling for each candidate. I think that's going to be really valuable to get a feel for people, because at the meeting itself, we will do like you guys have done before, where there's a presentation. Each candidate will give a presentation, questions and answers, and then deliberation. Molly, what do you want to add of all of our discussions? I'm probably forgetting something.
No, we just strive to make the opportunity for each finalist to be equal. And so if you do make the opportunity to do a one-on-one session with the candidates, you need to meet that hour and a half. So you meet all 3 of them, because it's very important that you don't just meet with one. You need to meet with all 3 through that process. That's the only thing I would ask, is to make it consistent. And each finalist has the exact same opportunity to meet with you during that time. So you can have that opportunity to have that conversation with them. And then when we come back on the 25th at the public meeting, it will be that presentation style where each finalist will do a presentation, and then there will be a Q&A. Oftentimes, and I believe Winter Partners agreed with this, that they will provide you some guidance with respect to the type of questions on the Q&A, again, to make sure that those opportunities for each finalist are equal, so that we are getting the same information from each of those finalists.
And I'm sorry, can you clarify the times on those, on the Tuesday and Wednesday, just so we can make sure we're blocking calendars?
So Mayor's gonna work with your calendars. For the 24th, it would be the afternoon, because meet and greet is in the morning. So the day before, I think it will be dependent on your calendar. And obviously, if the three candidates are here, we could have three board members here that are rotating to the three stations. I don't know if that'll work exactly with everybody's schedule, but it would be nice if we're close to.
And then as you go through that process, we also ask that you keep your thoughts to yourself until you have a chance to come to the public meeting to have those open, transparent discussions in compliance with open meeting law.
There's something at the meeting that you want to address.
Looks like we're gonna send out the email on the walking home, just sort of remind everybody.
Okay. Ms. Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For stakeholders, I think because Shannon dropped off of our board, the GSR was left off those initial conversations, so I just want to make sure they're on.
We added her.
Thank you.
That was my total fault.
No, don't.
No, but I reached out and we did have a few board stakeholders that we missed. Shannon was one and she called Winter Partners, did a Zoom with them, gave input. Also Darren Griffin was on my list and then he wasn't on the final list and I didn't catch that. So Darren did also, so there were several stakeholders who did not physically show up for the meetings we had, but we reached out and they had an opportunity to talk to Winter Partners last month.
Great.
So we do have her input. Thank you. Okay, so comments from the public.
No public comment at this time.
Okay, seeing no public comments, we are adjourned. Thank you all. Please have a wonderful holiday season.